weeks ago, the Lanier Knight brewed a potion of treachery, boiling cauldrons of three-wide madness. Though no one would escape unscathed, when the witching hour finally arrived, a father and son team was at the forefront, and rookie Scott Wimmer was standing in victory lane.
That's what makes this series so exciting. Former champ Gary St. Amant wins the first race, and rookie Scott Wimmer, he surprises us a couple of weeks ago. Parity defines the ASA this year. This is the smallest track they've run on so far, and it's going to be no different here today. Emotions will be boiling over. Tradition is big here in Hickory, North Carolina.
Hickory Motor Speedway is at the crossroads of the history of stock car racing, where the dirt track dreams of the past collide with the mystique of the future. For half a century, Hickory has given birth to some of the greatest stars and nurtured some of the deep traditions of the sport.
Hi, I'm NASCAR Winston Cup champion Dale Jarrett. My racing career started at Hickory Motor Speedway. I drove my first race there some 23 years ago, and I was hooked. You're about to see some great racing. Hickory is home to me and a special place for the Jarrett family. I hope you enjoy the race.
The engines have fired at Hickory Motor Speedway in Hickory, North Carolina. Today, the Jani-King 300 for the ASA AC-Delco Series live on TNN Sports. Hello again, everyone. I'm Rick Benjamin. My friend and colleague Steve Burns alongside. We're here to bring you some great short track action on Easter weekend. Steve, whenever we come to Hickory, history is the word we think of first.
Absolutely. This track opened in 1951, Rick, and great names. Junior Johnson, Ned Jarrett, Ralph Earnhardt, Harry Gant, Dale Earnhardt. They all raced on this tight little bull ring.
And plenty of drivers in the field today want to make some history with the ASA's first ever visit to this place. 3/8 of a mile racetrack here, very hard to get a hold of. The weather's better than the last time we came to you from Lanier. It's a little warmer and the sun's shining. Let's meet the first 5 rows of our lineup.
Hi, I'm Brendan Sperling, driver of the number 40 Crookston Motorsports Chevrolet. We're here on the front row this weekend, but what we really need is a sponsor.
My name's Robbie Pyle, driver of the Young Motorsports Chevrolet. Stay tuned, watch us run. The car's really not that good, so you might watch me get run over here.
I'm Tim Sauter, driver of the Build-A-Mold Chevrolet. I'd like to wish everybody a happy Easter.
Hi, I'm Mike Miller. I drive the Jani-King number 18 Pontiac. Happy Easter to everybody. And hi, Mom. I hope we win.
Hi, I'm Mike Garvey, driving the number 1 Tecumseh Chevy Monte Carlo. I'd just like to say happy Easter to my mom and dad back in Muskegon, Michigan.
Hi, I'm Kevin Harvick, driver of the number 10 AC-Delco Monte Carlo. Want to wish everybody a happy Easter.
Kevin Swinski, driver of the number 21 Lefebvre Racing Chevrolet Monte Carlo. Thank God we're in North Carolina where the sun's always shining.
I'm Scott Hansen, driver of number 5 Ford Taurus, sponsored by AFCO Racing Products. Happy Easter and let's go racing.
Hi, I'm Joey Clanton, driver of the Zaxby's Pontiac Grand Prix, and just want to say hey to everybody back home.
I'm Rick Beebe, driver of the number 23 AFCO Redline Pontiac. I want to say hi to my wife Lauren and my son Austin. See you in Victory Lane.
As we take a look at row number 6, cars are on the speedway. Scott Wimmer, the surprise winner a couple of weeks ago at Lanier, starts 11th alongside rookie Johnny Sauter in one of the Lefebvre Racing Monte Carlo. Steve Burns, the big story coming in today. Sauter's brother Tim, the defending series champion.
Yeah, big brother Tim Sauter is going to have to go to the rear of the field. He had qualified 3rd, but ASA officials did not like the fuel sample that he had taken after qualifying. He drops to the rear of the field.
As we take a look at row number 10, Dave Sensiba, the MC Sports Pontiac, and John Curley in the 72. That's one of the Musgrave Motorsports Fords, the Lazy Days RV machine. Sensiba, one of several drivers here who has a lot at stake today. We'll tell you more about his story as the afternoon wears on. The 11th row, the winner of the season opener, the 1998 ASA champion Gary St. Amant in the Witch Chevrolet, and 3-time champion Butch Miller in the Meyer Pontiac. 12th row includes Greg Stewart and Mark E. Dismore, rookie contender. He lines up according to points today. One of the young guns who's at the head of the lineup today, Bob Dillner, also has a lot to run for this afternoon.
You're certainly right, Rick. Brandon Sperling on the pole. And as he just mentioned a little while ago, they have no sponsor. If he doesn't finish in the top 5 today, he won't be able to make it to Montgomery, Alabama in 2 weeks. He won't be able to run the rest of the season. But I just spoke to car owner Denny Crookston, and he tells me, don't worry about running in the top 5 because we're going to win this one.
Boy, how'd you like that for pressure, Rick? You got to finish in the top 5 to go on to the next race.
And if the car owner says we're going to win today, that's even more pressure.
Right.
Your starting lineup today, Larry Foyt and J.C. Beatty, Jack Landis at the back of the show. Foyt, who had been so impressive the first 2 races, especially in qualifying, has to take a provisional and start at the back end of the show today. On pit road, the Lefebvre team talking things over. They, of course, field 3 cars in the show. The 01 for Sauter, the 21 for Sawinski, the 1 for Mike Garvey. Your list of drivers failing to qualify: Neil Bonnet's son David, 0 for 3 on the season, and Kevin Conway from North Carolina. David Anspaugh, who ran every race last year and made the first 2 here this season. David Doran misses the show, another series regular. Safety car heading in. Field is down in turn 3. Your pole sitter is the 40 car Brandon Sperling from Yorba Linda, California. Rookie Robbie Pyle on the outside of the Young Motorsports Pontiac. The green flag waves at Hickory. We're glad you're with us on Easter weekend. We are underway. 300 laps of action coming your way this afternoon.
And Rick, Robbie Pyle, as you said, on the outside pole, he has surprised a lot of people. Another one of those rookies, 15 in this race. He practiced on old tires and surprised everybody, including himself, when they qualified on the outside of row 1.
Pyle settles into second spot. You're on board the Tecumseh Chevrolet of Mike Garvey down into turn 3. Garvey rides in third. Teammate Kevin Sawinski in the 21 right behind him. Your leader, the red and black Crookston Chevrolet of Brandon Sperling. And look at the group of cars directly behind the leaders. Mike Miller in the 18, second in points last year. That's Kevin Harvick teaming today with Mike Eddy in car number 10, one of the Iton Chevrolets. And you're on board the USA Meats in-car camera today. That's Scott Wimmer's 05 machine giving us that ride.
Rick went down and talked to Scott Wimmer yesterday and congratulated him for his win at Gainesville 2 weeks ago. And I said, hey, did you get to celebrate? And he said, well, I went to dinner with my girlfriend, but I wanted to go back to the shop. She wouldn't let me.
Great way to celebrate. On board with Rick Beebe today, driving Jerry Gunderman's All-Star Pontiac. That car has the Grease Lightning on board camera for us today, down into 3 to the outside of Mike Miller, going for 8th spot here in the early going. Looking for 3rd right now. Robbie Pyle in the 8 car has 2nd, 21. That's Kevin Sawinski, the former ASA champion in 1997. He's up to 3rd around his teammate Mike Garvey. And look at Joey Clanton settling into 5th spot there in the yellow 83 car. The leader, meantime, continues to be Brandon Sperling, and he's opened up about 6 car lengths. Now Sawinski wants the route inside of Robbie Pyle for 2nd, down the back chute into 3 here at Hickory. And Sawinski will move by to take the spot.
Rick, I've been to a lot of NASCAR Busch races here, and the key is not to be fast early. You want to be consistent. A guy like Butch Miller will want to keep an eye on him. He won here at 91. They want to run the same lap time every lap. Just kill him with consistency.
Now, of course, going back several years when Butch Miller won a Busch Series event here back in the early 90s, that series running, just making the transition from bias blind tires to radials, much like this series is now. First year, of course, for the BF Goodrich radials on the ASA machines. Many of the drivers thought, we've got trouble up in turn 2 as we watch Robbie Pyle. Wayne Willard had spun in the 87. Caution on the Speedway for the first time today on lap number 9. Willard, who won the consolation last night to make the starting lineup today, he spins off of 2, gets it pointed in the right direction, and we will settle things back down and prepare for a restart. Let's take a time out on TNN Sports. ASA stock car action from Hickory Motor Speedway in North Carolina. Your leader's Brandon Sperling, and we'll be right back. Our coverage today of the ASA's Jani-King 300 is being brought to you by BF Goodrich Tires. Take control. And by Armor All Protectant and Armor All Car Wax. It's not just shine, it's Armor All. Back live at Hickory Motor Speedway in Hickory, North Carolina. The ASA's Jani-King 300 today, in trouble for the series champion. Steve Burns' Tim Sauter had to start at the back because of that fuel problem. He got caught up in that second turn spin.
Rick, that was exactly what he was afraid of. He had qualified 3rd, had to go to the rear of the field, and that's what you worry about as a driver.
So Sauter on pit road has part of the bodywork torn off the Build-A-Mold Chevrolet, the left front fender missing. Short track like this shouldn't have a lot to do with aerodynamics, but we don't know if it might have knocked the front end geometry askew. To pit road, Bob Dillner, the tires today a little different than what we've seen so far.
Well, you're right, Rick, and you had mentioned that these guys are trying to get used to these radial tires. This is the third different compound these teams have used in 3 races. Compound, this is a softer tire than what they have used in the past. But what they have done with this tire is actually they've stiffened up this sidewall. In fact, they've lengthened this reinforcement area right now. When these cars go into the corner and they plant, they're able to turn a little bit better. But it's thrown some teams for a loop because they're used to that squishy feeling in the corner, Rick.
So the team's still running on their first set of tires this race, of course, and a 300 lapper here you could probably do with 1 tire change. John Curley in the 72, an interesting story, Steve.
Yeah, and Bob was talking about the tires. John Curley has been at this track since he was a boy, Rick. His father, Benny Curley, was a track champion, owned a car that Harry Gant raced here in 1965. John Curley said, these new sidewalls are great for me because I know how to get down into the corner, get the car set up, get the tires set, and rock it off the corner. So he likes it.
Curley running 22nd in the situation on the racetrack right now. Started 20th here today. Field starting to pick up speed. 1 lap till green, we're told. Be sure to check out one of the hot new shows on television. See how Federal Agent Lucky Vanis brings in the bad guys with his high-speed, high-tech big rig. 18 Wheels of Justice every Wednesday night at 9 Eastern and Pacific. Part of TNN's Action Wednesdays. Plenty of action this Saturday afternoon. Looking for a restart. 15 laps are on the board of 300. Safety car, the Pontiac Grand Prix. The AS1 race car is in. Brandon Sperling, your restart leader. Kevin Sawinski in the black machine, the 21, is second. Robbie Pyle restarts third. Keep an eye on Mike Garvey in the black number 1. He is fourth. Joey Clinton with a big move early in the 83 car. Started 9th, he's 5th. And here comes Scott Hansen. He is 7th right now. Wants the inside on Busch Series rookie Kevin Harvick in the 10. Beebe is right behind in the 23, and then Scott Wimmer in the black 05. Wimmer, the surprise winner at Lanier 2 weeks ago, if you were with us for that great Saturday night shootout. 15 cautions in the 300 laps at Lanier. It was just a thrill a minute down there, and we're looking for more of the same here today. And Wimmer to the inside of Beebe may get the spot here.
Yeah, he likes this track pretty well. You know, you mentioned Scott Hansen. He's just ahead of the 23, Rick. I was watching him in practice, and he had his head he looked like a prize fighter, tucked down in there like a bulldog. You got to be tough to get around this racetrack.
Hansen back at ASA full-time this year in the 5 car, the Don Finetti Ford. As we jump on board the Greased Lightning camera on Rick Beebe's AFCO, Jerry Gunderman Pontiac today. And here is Scott Wimmer's on board. Looking ahead at Beebe as they battle it out for 8th position in the early going. 20 laps on the board. It's still Sperling and Sawinski up front with Robbie Pyle riding third. The 1 car in 4th spot. That is the car of Mike Garvey. Back a little deeper in the field. We watch Beebe and Wimmer trying to make their way up through there. Mike Miller is right in that group of cars too, and he is sitting 10th at the moment. Down the back straightaway, the 10 car, Kevin Harvick driving with AC-Delco's logos on the back of the 2nd Eaton Chevrolet. That's the team car to Mike Eddy's machine here today. Harvick has just torn up the Busch Series world in the early going in his rookie season. Says he likes this place and he's happy to be participating here today. The inside, Hansen in the 5. He wants 6th, and he gets it away from Harvick. So give Hansen 6th, and right behind him, the battle is for 8th spot. The 23 of Beebe, the 05 of Wimmer. Miller right there, too, in the 18 as we go on board with Scott Wimmer.
Mike Miller, we were talking to him yesterday, Bob Dillon and I, and we said, Mike, how are you getting around this place? And he said, well, to be honest, I'm lost. He said, I should be doing the waltz, and I'm doing the jitterbug instead.
He says this is very much a finesse racetrack. Felt this morning as though he would finally started to figure out what Hickory needs from a driver to be quick and be consistent. And Miller is as consistent on a long run as you'll find in ASA action.
And Rick, you hit it on the top of the show. This is the first ever time that the ASA Series has been to this racetrack, and truthfully, there aren't that many racers who have experience on this track. Some that have experience in other race cars, but not that many that have experience like we've seen in a NASCAR Busch Series race.
Mike Miller's a 30-plus year veteran of short track stock car racing. Told me this morning he did his traditional thing that he does first when he comes to any racetrack. He walks the track, and he said, Rick, I couldn't figure this place out. I walked it twice and couldn't figure out the line. Today, I finally figured out I'm going to drive this racetrack like I would drive any other, and then let it come to me, and that seems to be working for Mike Miller, who rides a comfortable 10th behind Beebe and Wimmer. Kevin Harvick up ahead there in 7th spot as we have put 27 laps on the board here in the early going at Hickory today.
You know, Rick, this is a difficult little racetrack. It looks like an oval, but the front stretch actually bows out. John Curley, as we mentioned a little while ago in the 72, said that there's guys that race here for years that never figure it out. It's a very tricky little racetrack.
Keeping an eye on on Scott Wimmer, who came from deep in the field. As you saw in the opening of our broadcast today, Wimmer actually was caught up in a pretty heavy wreck about halfway through the incident, the race in Lanier. He was tangled up with Mike Eddy on about lap 165 there. Spun, got back into line, was able to come back up through the field and just stun everybody with that victory. On board with Wimmer, the USA Meats camera. Kevin Conway's sponsor. Kevin not making the show. The USA Meats logo going on the 05 car this afternoon, along with the onboard camera. So we'll give you some good looks from Wimmer's machine as he tries to make it up through the field. Wimmer's now pulled ahead of Harvick, jumping back on board with Wimmer, looking back behind him to Harvick and Mike Miller as they battle for 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. Rick, deep in the field.
Rick, you're talking about Gainesville. Wimmer also spun Mike Miller, who's been a family friend for 25 years. And Scott Wimmer's a young guy himself, just 24 years old. And he said, I felt so bad about spinning one of my heroes, but they both got back in the race.
Watching the cars steam down the front stretch here at Hickory. 34 cars on what amounts to a 3/8 mile racetrack. Doesn't take long to string them out all around the surface here. We'll try to keep you up to date on the front group of cars as we watch Harvick and Beebe go at it for 6th and 7th spot. Your leader remains the 40 of Brandon Sperling. He's led the first 34 laps right now, starting to lap some traffic and put some distance between the 40 car and the 21 of Kevin Sawinski. Coming up on Alec Pinsonneau's 93. Pinsonneau started back in 32nd spot today. Bob Diller, what's going on pit road?
Well, Brandon Sperling is very happy with his car. And you mentioned just a minute ago we have a car on the wall.
Yes, we do. Up in turn 1. Looks like the one of Mike Garvey got loose going down into 1. We'll take a look at his onboard view and see what happened. Garvey, a great short track racer, 4-time winner a year ago in ASA competition. When he goes up toward the wall, gets it collected correctly. Back under caution, 2nd time this afternoon with 36 laps complete. Brandon Sperling, the pole sitter today, the Crookston Motorsports Chevrolet. He's showing the way at the moment at Hickory. Back live at Hickory Motor Speedway, Hickory, North Carolina, the ASA Stock Car Series here on TNN Sports. I'm Rick Benjamin alongside Steve Burns. Bob Diller on pit road for us. And for 2nd spot, Kevin Sawinski, who started 7th in the Lefebvre 21 car. That's the black Chevrolet to the outside of J.C. Beatty, a lap car. Sawinski strongly into 2nd. Robbie Pyle, who started on the outside pole, rides 3rd in the white 8 car. Look at Joey Clanton in the 83. He's moved up from 9th to 4th in the early going. Steve, that's very impressive for that young driver.
Absolutely. You know, we're seeing a situation now, Rick, where traffic is going to start to come into play. They'll start getting too wide and stacked up, and that's when tempers flare. It's hard to be patient.
Now, we've kept our eye on Mike Garvey in car number 1, started 5th here today. He had trouble going down into 1. Look at that, spun to the inside of the track, right up the banking toward the outside wall, managed to save it without hitting anything. Almost caught the end of the pit wall there, the concrete jersey barrier. We'll take a look from Mike's view. Wow. He must have had a little help there, I would say.
I think he got a little help.
I'll bet there's some other colored paint on the back bumper of the 1 car.
They don't turn left by themselves.
Generally not. Brandon Sperling and the 40-year leader, 43 laps on the board. Bob Diller, what's Mike Garvey telling his crew?
Well, I just spoke to crew chief Bon Suss, and he said, you guys were right. He did have a little help, but he's been trying the outside groove, and the outside groove is not working for everybody. It takes a while for these tires to heat up and for the rubber to get into that 2nd groove. He says they're all right, but it's going to take a while to pass on the outside.
Now, Garvey was able to gather up and stay up with the lead group. He is being shown 14th on the lead lap right now, so not a disaster for Garvey the way it could have been, but that's short track racing.
Yeah, and luckily he didn't hit anything either, Rick. Yeah. So, you know, he'll be all right. He'll be back to the front.
At Hickory, if you can spin and not hit anything and not get hit by another car, that's quite an achievement. As we watch Clinton in the 83, here's Scott Hansen and Scott Wimmer. They're duking it out for 5th spot. So Wimmer starting to rumble a little bit. The winner at Lanier. Now look at Clanton. He's got a challenge on the backstretch. That's Clanton in the yellow 83 to the inside of Sawinski for 2nd spot. Steve, I like the way Joey Clanton's running this first 100 laps.
Yeah, he's a graduate of Georgia Tech, an engineering student. He's got a lot of smarts. You think, you know, with a degree like that, but he is a very patient race car driver.
Almost got turned around by Sawinski as they came off of 2. Sawinski backed out of the gas, it appeared. Clanton keeps the car pointed in the right direction, and he rolls into 2nd spot in the 83. Back to Bob Diller.
Well, Rick, not only is Joey Clanton a very smart individual, but car owner Steve Dale is as well. He had an offer to buy a Busch team at the end of last year, but he said he didn't want to do that. It was too serious to him. He wanted some good old short track racing, and that's why he came to the ASA.
the Zaxby's Restaurants 83. Steve Dale putting together a multi-car effort here in ASA. Clanton obviously the lead dog in his stable at the moment, doing a great job. Seems to have a little push coming off the corners, though. We'll try to check that out and see if perhaps the handling in the 83 isn't quite what Joey would like. As we noted, the last couple of trips around off of 2, he's been loose. On board with Scott Wimmer, who has now moved into 3rd in the 05. So, Steve, obviously, Scott Wimmer's strong run at Lanier, no flash in the pan. He is about to put a move on Clanton as we watch Mike Miller and Scott Hansen go at it. Miller had dropped as deep as 10th in the field. He's up to 6th, wants 5th from Hansen, and I think he's going to get it.
Hey, you were talking about Scott Wimmer. I was surprised to learn that, we got a spin on the backstretch, Rick. Number 2
Sure
car
do.
of Chad Wood has just gone around.
Wood looping, and the caution will wave. Wood apparently has straightened the car up. No, there he is. He's parked down on the inside of the racetrack on the apron. God bless your eyesight, Steve Burns. Down at the exit of 2, Wood went around. That's the Dwight Yoakam's Biscuits Ford. And Wood will come to a stop there and rejoin at the back of the pack, and we'll be ready to go here shortly. No damage to the car, no debris on the track that we can see, although the track safety crews will check it out. Under caution for the 3rd time this afternoon, 54 of 300 laps complete here at Hickory. Back live at Hickory Motor Speedway in Hickory, North Carolina. The ASA AC-Delco Series on TNN Sports. The Jani-King 300 today on Easter weekend in the year 2000. The group of cars that have come to pit road for their first stops of the day lining up. The exit to pit area here at Hickory is at the exit of turn 2, right at the top of the backstretch. And there you see Kevin Harvick in the 10. Mike Eddy, his teammate today in the 88. Tim Sauter, who had to start at the back today because of the fuel problems. He's also tangled with some other traffic and lost the fender on the left side, you see, of the 9 car there. And he will have his work cut out for him here this afternoon. Harvick snaking the car back and forth to try to get some heat in those tires. Harvick, quite a story. Very strong, of course, in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series the last couple of years. As we take a look at this driver who is a Busch Series regular, rookie now. Harvick, from his years with the Spears team in the Truck Series, also drove the Liberty Racing Porter Cable truck. That was last season. And here he is in the AC-Delco Chevrolet in the NASCAR Busch Series, driving for Richard Childress Racing this year.
And Rick, you know, he's really surprised a lot of people. He's 9th in the NASCAR Busch Series points. So, like you said, a young guy. Several years ago, he ran for the Winston West Championship and the Truck Series Championship in the same year. He's flying back and forth across the country to do so. Very impressive young driver.
Sure has turned in a great first part of the season in his rookie Busch Series campaign. 67 Truck Series starts, 9 top 5s. And Bob Dillner, he told us this morning he liked this racetrack.
He does. He actually ran some all-pro races a couple of years ago like that. He likes this even better. But I'll tell you, Steve, you said just a second ago his impressive record. I'll tell you what's impressive. Ted Smokestack put this car together back up north in 6 days. That's it. Then he put the car in the trailer and drove all the way here. It took them all of 18 hours to get here. They drove through snow, sleet, and rain. And man, he was a tired puppy when he got here.
What guys will do to go racing.
Wow, 6 days they put a car together. That is impressive, Bob.
Pontiac safety car headed to pit road here at Hickory Motor Speedway. The ASA's traditional Pontiac pace car pulling off. Brandon Sperling's led the first 60 laps of the Crookston Chevrolet. That's the red 40 car. Joey Clanton in the 83 gets kicked sideways. He is second. Scott Wimmer right behind him. Little contact, but they stay straight. Sawinski in the 21 is 4th. Bobby Pyle in the 8. The white machine there is 5th. Right behind, right alongside the 5 of Scott Hansen running in 6th position. On board Wimmer, the USA Beats onboard camera today. Wimmer to the inside of Clanton. Obviously, Wimmer is handling quite a bit better at the moment. Clanton doing a great job to get toward the front and stay there with a car that seems to have a good push in it at the moment. Look at Sawinski moving to 4th in the 21. Second spot now, rookie Scott Wimmer. Wimmer the winner at Lanier a couple of weeks ago in his rookie campaign. Take a look. This was just a lap ago. The 83 of Clanton and the 05 of Wimmer. Contact right front to left rear corner. Clanton able to dirt track it and keep it straight.
Short track racing, kick her sideways and keep going.
That's it. Nothing you can't cure with a little extra throttle.
No, and don't forget the chrome horn.
Absolutely. Taking a look a little back in the field. There's Hansen in the white number 5, one of the Fords in the field today. Went inside to Sawinski. Hansen is 5th, Sawinski 4th. Hansen's tried a little bit different setup in the back end of that machine. Says it helps the car turn, helps him get better bite off the corners. seems to be working for the veteran driver. Started 8th today out of Green Bay, Wisconsin. He has advanced to 5th, and he is about to make a move on Sawinski, who cannot seem to keep the 21 car low on the racetrack here in the first 100 laps. Still the 40. Brandon Sperling out in front. Sawinski and Hansen duking it out back there. That is for 4th position. Robbie Pyle watching from 6th in the 8 car.
And Robbie Pyle, talked to him and his crew chief Jeff Miller this morning, Rick. I said, you're one of 15 rookies in this field, and he's leading the rookie points.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the big name that some of the other rookies like Dismore have. But I said, how have you been able to adapt so quickly? Ricky said, I've never raced any one place for long. I move around. He's been in an ARCA touring series, and he adapts quickly to new racetracks.
And that is one of the ways, if you want to get to the very top echelons of this sport, that is one of the ways to do it. Get as much experience at as many different racetracks as you can. Not necessarily chase points in a given series, but just move around a lot. Drive different race cars in different places. On board, Mike Garvey, Gary St. Amand, who won the season opener at Lakeland, to the inside in the 7 car. Garvey in the 1 back in 11th. He's gained about 3 spots. St. Amand has gone by him for 11th spot right now as we put 68 laps up on the scoring pylon here at Hickory. Directly in front of this group of cars, you can see Johnny Sauter is there, Ricky Johnson is there. Mike Garvey not able to stay in front of the 7 of St. Amand. Wimmer, meantime, starting to move in on Brandon Sperling as we come up on lap number 70. Sperling's got his mirrors full.
Yeah, Brandon Sperling really checked out at the beginning of the race as the 05 pulls up alongside Rick. But remember, we said it's better to be consistent than be fast.
Wimmer to the outside quickly around Sperling. First lead change of the afternoon at Hickory. Wimmer is your new leader. No fluke at all, that victory at Lanier. Scott Wimmer has put the 05 car into the wind. He has come from 11th to grab the point after just 71 laps of action today here at Hickory Motor Speedway. So give Wimmer the lead in the Sierra Racing Products Chevrolet, carrying the USAMeets.com logos today, too. Joey Clanton rides 3rd. Sperling settles into 2nd. Back for more at Hickory in a moment. Back at Hickory as the caution waves. Alec Pincino has spun the 93 car coming down the front straightaway here at Hickory. Spun right across the start-finish line and did a 360 without hitting anything. He's got a couple of tire donuts on the door panels, but that should be about it. 4th caution of the afternoon with 81 laps on the board, and we caught it perfectly, coming back just in time to show you the trouble on the racetrack. And Steve Burns, as things settle down, just before that, we've talked about Scott Wimmer, how quick he's been going to the front here in the first 70 laps. Look at this move with Larry Foyt coming off turn 4.
You know, Rick, we talked a while ago about negotiating traffic here. It is tough. Lap traffic is always a factor on this racetrack.
We'll take another look as well at Alec Pincino. Now, there was no caution, that contact between Wimmer and Larry Foyt. Alec Pincino coming into your picture here. He got rubbed up against on the inside. Goes right around.
Yep, you can see he's got the brakes locked up there, and he's going, oh, please don't anybody come across the track.
Chad Wood in the 2 car. I thought that was Wood alongside as they made that contact in turn 4. Indeed, it was. Wood involved in something for the 2nd time here today. Pincino squared away. A little bit of a scuff mark situation on the side door panels of the 93. A little damage to the left side, right side of the car, but it looks like Alec is all right. Should be able to restart. Meantime, setting sail at the head of the show, the young driver who won the race at Lanier 2 weeks ago. And only his 2nd ASA start. Bob Diller, how excited is Scott Wimmer's dad?
Well, you saw him at Lanier a couple weeks ago. He was almost in tears as Scott won the race. I talked to Scott yesterday, and he was not happy with the car. It was pushing big time. He's come to the front rather easily here. What's the difference?
Well, we were practicing on old tires, actually from Lakeland, and we heard they had changed sidewalls a little bit, and we put on a new set of tires, and it just got super tight on them. It was pushing like crazy. So we didn't know what it was going to do in qualifying. We tried some things and worked for qualifying, and we said that's where we're going to race it, and it's proven to be the right move.
Well, it's the right move for Scott Wimmer right now, but the 18 car, Mike Miller, on pit road now. They changed some tires. They have been very loose, and they made a chassis adjustment. Oh, we almost have an accident here on pit road, too, between Mike Garvey and another car, Rick Beebe.
And a tire got loose on pit road as well, causing some moments there where drivers had to dodge that loose wheel. On board with Mike Garvey back at the exit to pit road on the backside of the racetrack here at Hickory Motor Speedway, getting the go sign to pull back up on the speedway. 84 laps complete. Caution for the 4th time this afternoon. Scott Wimmer should be your restart leader in the 05 car, and he'll be lining up directly, it looks like, in front of Rick Beebe. Plenty more to come with the Jani-King 300 from Hickory. We'll be right back. Back at Hickory Motor Speedway in Hickory, North Carolina, a reminder that you should experience country.com, your personal source for all things country, race cars to country stars, and full information on the ASA AC-Delco Series, of course, the motorsports section of country.com. Plenty of information on TNN's race day as well. We'll be on the air tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock Eastern and Pacific with a full update of the Easter weekend motorsports action. We'll recap all of today's ASA action here at Hickory. Of course, coverage of the Indy Racing Northern Lights Series at Las Vegas, the NASCAR Craftsman Trucks out at Portland, and plenty more tomorrow on race day at 11 o'clock Eastern and Pacific time. Hope you can join us then. Big day for Mark Dismore. Mark A. Dismore on the pole at Las Vegas for that IRL event. Mark E. Dismore, his son, running here in his third ASA race, started 24th today in one of the Herzog Chevrolets, the 44 car. He hasn't made much of a move yet. He's back in 25th, but Mark E. Dismore, no doubt, will be a driver to be reckoned with. Scott Wimmer, the Sierra Racing Products Chevrolet, has made a great move today, going up toward the front and getting the lead a few laps ago. You know, there have been race cars here at the Speedway for almost 50 years. Some of the names have changed, but one thing remains the same. That is certainly the action here. Some of the NASCAR Busch Series events over the years, renowned for plenty of beating and banging and just close wheel-to-wheel competition. We're expecting plenty more of the same here as the afternoon wears on.
Rick, when you buy a ticket to come to this racetrack, you get your money's worth.
Absolutely.
The body men don't like it too much, but fans love it.
Randy LaJoie has some fond memories of this place,
indeed,
among many other Busch Series drivers. Green flag waving, 88 laps complete of 300, getting ready to go to lap 90. Brandon Sperling in the 40 car off the pole, led early here, but gave way to Brandon Sperling to Scott Wimmer about 15 laps ago. Joey Clanton in the yellow 83 car rides third. The silver machine, the 57, is a lap car. That's Gary Sherman's automobile. He is in line in third spot, but not third in the scoring charts at the moment.
Rick, I want to say a quick word about Gary Sherman in the 57. I asked him yesterday, I said, how many guys do you have helping you out? And he raised his hand and said, it's just me, guy. He said, I got one guy that comes by at 2:30 in the morning, another that comes by at 4:30 in the afternoon. He drove the team rig. There he is in the 57, drove it down from Michigan. The wheel bearings went out, melted to the spindles. It took him about 19 hours to get down here, but got to root for a guy like Gary Sherman.
You know, series rookie from Holt, Michigan, the J&K Communications Kitzmiller RV Pontiac. And he is about to go a lap down. It looks like the Wayne Willard's 87 car. Willard, though, back in 29th. Actually, that's a duel for position from 28th to 29th spot right now. Smoke showing on the backstretch there. The 72 of John Curley had gone around a moment ago as we watched the battle between Butch Miller in 6th and Gary St. Amant in 5th. We haven't said much about St. Amant. Started back in 21st, the 1998 Series champion, and he is on the move very quietly. I said, I think to you, Steve Burns, during a break a moment ago, this is Gary St. Amant's kind of afternoon, just quietly picking his way to the front in the first 100 laps. Bob Diller, Gary St. Amant's crew, Bud Gibbon and the team must be very pleased with what's going on.
Hey, Gary's been very happy here all weekend long. He told me yesterday, right before qualifying, that this track is a lot like his home track of the Columbus Motor Speedway, and that he was definitely a contender for the win here today, as you can tell by him coming up into the top 5.
Look at the cars right around him. Butch Miller, the 3-time ASA champion in the 52. He is being shown 5th. Directly in front of that group, the 22 of Ricky Johnson, the Nationwide Auction Systems Chevrolet, the other Herzog Motorsports car. Ricky has come to 4th spot, really got an advantage off that last round of caution flag pit stops. He has moved up quickly. As we watch the 9 of Tim Sauter also in the mix. Sauter in that earlier incident lost the left front fender on the car. He has come up through the field, and he is now 6th. Remember, he had to drop to 34th at the start because they found illegal fuel in that car during tech inspections.
You know, Tim disputed that. Bob Diller told us that actually they thought the fuel was okay after Gainesville, but rules being rules, he had to drop to the rear of the field.
Apparently, Sauter's team says they purchased the Spec Series fuel, the Elf Race Fuels unleaded gasoline, from a fuel truck in Canada. Now, you know that Alec Pinsonneau from Windsor, Ontario, is the car owner of the 9 machine, Tim Sauter's team owner. They felt like the fuel was the same as they would get here in the States at the racetrack, and that's where the discrepancy came from. That's their version. The ASA's version is the fuel's illegal, so Sauter had to go to the rear. And Alec Pinsonneau, actually the same situation. He too started at the rear here today. 100 laps are on the board as we look at the 16 across the tunnel. That's the green car, the Conseco Pontiac. Tuttle doing a nice job. Made the show through the consolation last night. back to the battle for fourth. There's Ricky Johnson, Tim Sauter. Sauter has gotten by Johnson, so Tim Sauter, despite the damage to the left front corner of the car, he's on the move, getting by Johnson. He, too, has gotten by Butch Miller, back in 6th position right now. Also in the mix of machines, Gary St. Amant and Robbie Pyle.
Rick, we were talking about Ricky Johnson at Lanier. He had 2 pins inserted in his left thumb. Well, he was in an accident, a hard accident at Lanier, and one of those pins, which is actually looks like a household screw, has come through his thumb. He showed it to me this morning. He said, I just slapped some Neosporin on it and a Band-Aid, now back racing.
He is a tough customer. Of course, you know the story. Many-time off-road champion in trucks, many-time Supercross champion in motorcycles. We're going to show you the entire field as they work their way around Hickory Motor Speedway. Mike Miller going by in the 18. He's showing 10th right now. The 0 car, you saw Tracy Goodson's Blue Dolphin Pontiac in 17th. The 10 car of Kevin Harvick ducks onto pit road. There's Brandon Sperling in the 40. Your pole sitter here this weekend. Sperling running in 2nd spot. The 10 of Harvick slowly onto pit road. Very strange pit road setup here to be able to accommodate 34 cars. Trouble up in turn 2. Johnny Sauter and Philip Kranifus get together. Sauter in the black 01, the 27, the Mobile One Pontiac of Kranifus. His dad Michael, Rusty Wallace's, and Jeremy Mayfield's one of the owners of the Penske South Kranifus Racing Group in Winston Cup Racing. Michael is here. Don Miller, who is the partner in Penske South with Roger Penske, he's here to watch the action today. And their young driver Philip Kranifus in trouble. Johnny Sauter coming to pit road in the 01. Downstairs to Bob Dillner.
Well, Kevin Harvick is actually going to be climbing out of his number 10 AC-Delco Chevrolet. They told me just a minute ago that they were very good, but Harvick getting out of the car. They were going to pit several more times. We'll have a word with Kevin in just a second.
Kevin Harvick takes the helmet off. They'll try to get him back in action today. Johnny Sauter on pit road after that second turn tangle. Steve, the bodywork on the car damaged.
Tough break, too, for Johnny Sauter, just 21 years old. He told me, Rick, this week, I said, how was your week preparing? He said, oh, it was kind of tough. I said, well, tell me about it. He was up 35 hours in a row working on his race car without showering, without sleeping.
It has been a tough early season for the 3rd car in the LeFevre stables. You saw Kranifus spin in the 27. Johnny Sauter with the lane closed. That's from the onboard view of Mike Garvey. The lane was closed on the 01 car, so Johnny Sauter could do nothing but tag the 27 and inflict some damage on that machine. And looking down on pit road, many of the leaders are coming to pit road. Scott Wimmer in the 05 and Brandon Sperling in the 40, your first 2 cars. Wimmer will stop on the inside. Now, this is part of pit road that hooks through the wall and heads toward turn 2 inside the racetrack. There are also teams pitted on the outside of this section of pavement. So a very tight pit road situation here at Hickory Motor Speedway. The clock is on the 05 car, right side tires only. He's down the way at 15.5 seconds. That is excellent time for a 2-tire stop in the American Speed Association. Back to the racetrack, the 45 of Greg Usher. There you see his teammate Butch Miller and the Meyer Stores Pontiac, the other Leroy Troop Port City racing car. He's going to stop. Well, no, he's not actually. He's going to sit down on pit road and come back onto the racetrack. Word is that Butch Miller may have missed his pit box and maybe headed back onto the track without getting service. Robbie Pyle going out on the track. Philip Kranifus is okay. He's going to come back onto the speedway. The 27 car, and then you see the 5 of Scott Hansen. Field under caution. Tim Sauter will be picked up by the safety car as the restart leader. Mike Miller shown in 2nd spot right now as we prepare to return to green flag racing. Hello to everybody in Florida today. Good to have you with us. Back live at Hickory Motor Speedway, the ASA AC-Delco Series, reminding you that Wrenchhead.com is your online automotive superstore. Millions of replacement parts, performance parts, accessories, and more. Plus free shipping from Wrenchhead.com with parts online all the time. Back under green, and Mike Miller is on the charge. He is 2nd, trying to work his way by a couple of lap cars. The 09 of J.C. Beatty, and directly in front of him, the 87 of Wayne Willard. Your leader is Tim Sauter with all that body damage on the left front. And here's John Curley in the 72 back on the racetrack, minus a hood and minus some body work on the right front corner. They worked on that car for quite a while on pit road, Steve.
Yeah, Rick, interesting fact about John Curley. He used to be a fabricator at Roush Racing. In 1998, he helped hang bodies on 36 race cars for the 6 and 99. Now he's got to do some body work of his own.
Sure does. Didn't see him climb out of the window to pull that sheet metal away from the right front corner of the 72 car. Curley stayed in the saddle and trying to come back up through the field. One of the drivers not in action at the moment. Tough break for a young driver who turned in a good run in the first 75 laps here. Bob Dillner downstairs with Kevin Harvick.
Well, Kevin Harvick is a little bit disappointed. Kevin, you brought your entire Busch team here to work on this ASA car. What happened out there?
Well, the panel bar adjuster broke, and I don't know if the panel bar kept going down. I think it was real tight in the middle and it snapped loose. But just one of them things. We're here to have fun, and the only reason we're here is to win. But I appreciate AC-Delco letting us do it and come out here and support this series. We had a pretty good car, but didn't work today.
Rick, I asked him if he was having fun out there. He said he was just getting started.
Just getting started, and hopefully he'll be able to return. Watching the 6 car of Dave Sensiba, the MC Sports Pontiac. That's the silver machine right behind Rick Beebe. Steve Burns, one of the drivers we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, with a lot at stake as he runs in 4th.
He's a longtime veteran of this series, Rick. He's won a lot of pole positions. He is having a desperate time. He needs a sponsor. He may not continue on after this race unless financial backing is found on the number 6 car. He's another guy that worked an all-nighter this week getting his race car ready for Hickory. Again, that's pressure. He needs sponsorship to keep going to the next race.
A couple of poles last season, led several times, unable to crack victory lane in the 6 car, but Sensiba, one of the strong veterans, and a spin in 2. Wayne Willard has gone around for the 2nd time, and Tracy Goodson piles in the Blue Dolphin Pontiac, the 0. So the yellow flag will wave for the 6th time here this afternoon. Up in turn 2 seems to be the trouble spot here in the early going for the ASA AC-Delco stock car contingent. Willard, I don't know if he'll be, that won't buff out.
No. Now, you know what, Rick? They get such a great run going downhill into turn 1. They carry an awful lot of momentum as they exit 1, and a lot of times they just can't get it turned.
Tracy Goodson with nowhere to go on the high side. Willard slid up the track backwards and caught the wall, and Goodson jumped on the binders hard, bent up the front end of the 0 car. He had one of the hardest hits I've seen in this series in a couple of years at Lakeland before Sunday rolled around when we were there for the season opener in March. He wrecked his primary car in qualifying, diamonded the frame. He hit so hard coming off of turn 4. Goodson's a good short track racer, plenty of experience in the NASCAR All-Pro Series and in other touring series.
Yeah, he said, Rick, at Lakeland, he told me that this was a dream come true for him to be in this series. He said, I used to sit at home with my daughter and watch the ASA series and think, how could I ever get to that point? Well, here he is. His day is short, but he's a good racer.
Sure is. Rick Beebe in the Jerry Gunderman All-Star Pontiac, the AFCO Racing Products machine. That's the 23 car. Beebe rolling down the back straightaway right now. He's our BF Goodrich big name in the making here this weekend. Beebe's a great story from Kansas. Each week on our TNN coverage, we profile one of the exciting new personalities in the series. Let's meet Rick Beebe.
When I was 15, we got a street stock, and we ran that 4 times, and I got picked on pretty good because I was only 15. In 4 weeks of racing street stocks, we were running up front. Actually, the first night I raced, I won my heat race, won the trophy dash, and finished 5th in the feature with like 100 cars there. So we did pretty good, but the guys didn't take too kindly to a 15-year-old coming in and racing with them, and within 4 weeks, I got suspended and barred from the track for rough driving.
Rick Beebe's 25-year racing career is the direct result of a lot of hard work. In fact, to this day, Rick works hard to support his racing.
On my real job, I'm a heating and air conditioning contractor in Kansas City, and started that business just a little bit. Actually, I've been racing longer than I've been working, but started racing when I was 15. I started the heating and air conditioning business when I was 20. My dad was a plumber, or still is a plumber, actually, and used his customer base to somewhat start my business, and started as a one-man operation and built it from there. We've got about 12 people now.
Rick Beebe's ability to work hard does have rewards.
I love to fly. I mean, probably love to fly just about as much as I like to race, and I think the reason being they both offer kind of the same type of challenges. They're, you know, both of them are, I guess, somewhat dangerous if you don't use them in respect, but, you know, they're also both very challenging and very rewarding when you do well with them.
And Rick Beebe is flying high, currently riding in the 4th position. 2 career wins in ASA, 7 poles, and as you see, 21 top 5s. How about it, Bob Dillner?
Well, Steve, you got to take a look at this picture right here. On the left, in that beautiful STP shirt, that's Rick Beebe right there. On the right, that's actually his longtime friend and spotter, Ron Keith. He's up in the spotter stand right now, as you can see, and he is calling the shots for Rick Beebe out on the track. Interesting story, though. I was speaking to Ron the other day. As I said, they grew up together, and they went to the racetrack together. But early on, Rick was not a racing fan. In fact, Ron told me they'd go to the track and he'd actually put his hands over his ears because the cars were just too loud.
Well, he's overcome that, hasn't he?
Absolutely. Shows you what earplugs will do for you. Beebe comes down to pit road. Looks like he's going to take on a little service before we go back to green flag racing. 127 laps of 300 complete, 173 to go here at Hickory Motor Speedway. The ASA Stock Car Series making its first appearance here, what they call America's most famous short track. Beebe on pit road to the attention of his crew slowly. Tracy Goodson's 0 car in on the hook. Looks like he is done for the afternoon. Tracy's still in the machine, but a lot of front end damage. We'll show you what happened again. We were watching Dave Sensiba in the silver 6 down into 1. Willard spun all by himself. Now, you'd think Tracy Goodson would have had plenty of time to avoid this, but you can see that Goodson, I don't think, had a good line of sight to Willard. He comes around the corner, nowhere to go.
Well, you know what else, Rick? We talked about how they carry so much momentum going down the hill on the front stretch into turn 1, and quite possibly Tracy couldn't get turned himself.
So Goodson's afternoon apparently will come to an early end. Another driver with troubles. We started to tell you about Johnny Sauter, the third of the Lefevre Racing Chevrolets. He got some damage in an earlier incident to the left front, or make that the right front corner of the car. Bob Dillner, they've got that thing up on jack stands. What's going on down there?
Well, Rick, this is an all too familiar sight for Johnny Sauter this year. Third race, he's in the infield before the end of the race. Johnny, this is just a terrible start to the season. First of all, what happened out there?
I tell you what, Rick Beebe just got a little impatient, you know, and he was trying to get the 27 car moved out of the way, and I unfortunately was on the outside trying to get by Rick, and it's just an unfortunate incident. I just wish Rick would have used a little more patience, that's all.
Johnny Sauter trying to keep his head up early in the season.
We noticed that there was coolant down on the floor, down on the ground in pit road before when Johnny Sauter's 01 machine came down on pit road, and then you can see there they were replacing the radiator in the front of that machine. So still under caution here at Hickory, picking up the speed again. Find out who has the dead man's gun this week instead of the Old West. Big stars, all a part of TNN's action. Wednesdays, check it out Wednesdays at 8 Eastern and Pacific on TNN. Right now, I think Tim Sauter's got the biggest gun in the field. He's going to restart on the lead on lap 130, 170 to go. But Mike Miller in the 18 right behind him, and Dave Sensiba will restart fourth. Kevin Sawinski goes fifth. Mike Garvey goes in sixth spot as we take the green one more time. It is Sauter and Miller, the two guys who fought hand-to-hand for the 1999 ASA National Championship. Sauter prevailing by a handful of points over Mike Miller. You're on board with Mike Garvey, who has come back from an early spin to climb back up into fifth spot. Sensiba, Sawinski, and Garvey, the 21 and the 1 are teammates, and Garvey is hooked up on the high side. He's going to try to roll by Sawinski into 1. Can't quite get it done now. Off of 2. Good jump for the 1 car, but Sawinski beats him out of the corner. Sawinski will hang on to fourth spot. Sawinski, the 1997 ASA National Champion. Dave Sensiba just wants a good, solid top 5 and a chance to win here today so he can keep his one-man operation alive in the American Speed Association.
And look at Greg Stewart there in the 33, and Jack Landis in the 07 right behind Stewart.
Now, we talked at the beginning of the season. This is only the third race of the 2000 campaign in the ASA with the new spec Vortec engines from GM Powertrain and, of course, the new BF Goodrich TA radial tires on these cars. You can go a lot longer between stops for tires particularly. Fuel range is about the same as it was with the old V6s with a smaller fuel cell in these cars this year. But the tire strategy is really, really different this year. You don't have to stop on every caution. And that gives some of these guys an opportunity, if they don't need to stop, to stay out under caution and gain a lot of track position. And that's what's happened, I think, with Garvey and with Sensiba. Sawinski's been at the front pretty much all afternoon. They are going to go by Sensiba in the 6th. Sawinski now to 3rd, and Garvey to the inside, wants 4th spot. But look at Garvey. He is unable to get by Sensiba on the front stretch.
Rick, you nailed that one right on the head. You said that Mike Garvey would be back in the hunt after that early spin, and he is right there knocking on the door. But Dave Sensiba is not making it easy on him.
Not at all. Sensiba in the MC Sports Pontiac doing a great job. And behind him, you mentioned Greg Stewart in the 33. He is 6th right now from Four Oaks, North Carolina. Stewart doing a nice job in that machine. He did not start in great position here this afternoon. He's made a nice move up through the field. He started 23rd. This is the battle for the #1 position. National champion Tim Sauter in the yellow. Make that the blue and white 9 car, the Build-A-Mole Chevrolet, and Mike Miller in the 18 right behind him. They are 1 and 2, and Mike Miller has patiently worked his way toward the front here today. 150 laps on the board.
Mike Miller said yesterday before qualifying that he was lost, trying to find his way, but it looks like he has found the preferred line.
The Georgia veteran has been on more short tracks than most of us will see in a lifetime in his 30-plus year career. He certainly figured out Hickory here in the early going this afternoon. Miller watching things from behind Tim Sauter. Deja vu all over again. If Yogi Berra were with us today, these two guys battle hammer and tongs all throughout the 1999 campaign, with Sauter finally the ultimate champion. Plenty of racing left though at Hickory on Easter weekend. We're glad you're with us. Our coverage today of the ASA's Jani-King 300 is being brought to you by Grease Lightning Multi-Purpose Degreaser. Seventh caution of the afternoon here at Hickory Motor Speedway in the ASA Stock Car Series. The Jani-King 300 today from Hickory, North Carolina. And Chad Wood bent up the front end of the two-car pretty thoroughly on the backstretch. Leaders are on pit road to Bob Dillner.
Well, all these guys are pitting because they say they want to. Mike Miller is pulling in right now. Crew Chief Carl Hyland just told me car's a little loose, but he's coming on strong. They're going to change left side tires right now. Interesting situation for the leader, Tim Sauter. They cannot make it on fuel. If you remember, he came in very early with that front end damage, and they cannot make it. They'll have to stop. Interesting call, though, not to stop on this caution. Also in this time, Ricky Johnson and left side tires for Gary St. Amant.
St. Amant was making great progress through the field. He has backed away a little bit in the last 20 laps or so. Chad Wood, 3 times and you're out today. That's 3 spins, and the third one a hard lick into the wall for the youngster from Wisconsin. So he will take the 2-car in on the hook and be done for the afternoon, it does appear. Closing in on halfway. We're about 2 laps away from the cross flags, and we'll see who the safety car will pick up as the restart leader in a couple of moments. Leaders on pit road. Remember, only 2 tires allowed on a yellow flag pit stop in American Speed Association competition. Show you what happened here to get this one going. We take a look from the backstretch. Russ Tuttle getting kicked around in the 16 car. Rick Beebe in the middle of it. Wood in the 57 of Gary Sherman with contact. Wood's nose piece already bent on the 2 car. Then he finished the job going into the wall. We'll jump on board Rick Beebe's machine. This is Jerry Gunderman's Pontiac. Ooh, he got into the back end of Russ. It looked like Tuttle might have backed out of the gas there and kicked the 16 car around.
I couldn't tell if Russ Tuttle in the 16 had just gotten loose, but there was contact there.
No doubt about it. What you'd expect when you pay a visit to Hickory Motor Speedway in the Piedmont of North Carolina. Teams sorting things out for the second half of today's Jani-King 300. Back with plenty more. If you love the movie The Magnificent Seven, you'll love the weekly series The Magnificent Seven every Wednesday night at 10 Eastern and Pacific, a part of TNN's Action Wednesdays. Tons of action on the racetrack here at Hickory Motor Speedway. Getting set to go. Second half of today's Jani-King 300 for the American Speed Association. 145 trips to go here at Hickory. Green again, and Tim Sauter in the 9 car as your leader, the Build-A-Mold Chevrolet. Right behind him, Kevin Sawinski restarting second. Mike Garvey third after a round of pit stops. Dave Sensiba fourth. We jump on board Garvey's machine briefly. Watch him haul it down into turn 1. I like Garvey, Steve. I don't know. He is a great short track driver. Spun all the way once. Came from the back. He's back up there in contention.
And how about Kevin Sawinski, a former champion of this series there, the number 21. Came down south, raced trucks, raced a few bush races. And he said, Rick, that he feels like he can win every time he buckles into one of these ASA cars.
Finished second in the season opener at Lakeland, obviously showing he hasn't lost his touch in an ASA machine. Riding second here today. Hasn't yet led, but certainly a driver to watch all afternoon long. A little further back in the field, you caught a glimpse of the 44 of Mark E. Dismore. He is on the move. He is up to 6th spot. Now remember that Dismore, the youngster, 20 years old, started in 24th spot. On board Scott Wimmer in the 05, had several laps out in front earlier. He's been on pit road, starting to work his way back to the front, up to 11th in the black Chevrolet. Winner at Lanier a couple of weeks ago, working by Tim Taylor, who is in 12th spot right now as they make moves around some of the slower machines. Rolling in on Scott Hansen in the 5. We thought he'd be a contender today. Hasn't shown a lot. Ran in the top 5 early, but hasn't been able to get back up there and contend. Wimmer with the 5 car and his gun sights on the backstretch right now. Joey Clanton in the yellow and blue 83, one of Steve Dale's machines, directly ahead. Clanton had run up in the top 3 earlier. He's trying to get back up there and contend. 3 wide out of turn 4. Mike Eddy on the low side in the 88 car. Surprised we haven't heard more from Eddy so far in the early going. He's shown 13th Another driver who knows how to be patient, but he really likes to get to the front as quickly as he can.
You know, interesting statistic about Mike Eddy, the number 88. He hasn't finished either race this year, but he's led the most laps.
He has been dominant both at Lakeland and at Lanier, and you know he doesn't like being stuck back at 12th and 13th spot. Robbie Pyle in the white number 8, your outside pole sitter today, the Young Motorsports machine. He makes a move inside Taylor. And here comes Eddy on the low side in the Eaton Chevrolet, the E-Web 21 sponsored machine. Bob Diller, what are they saying down there in Mike Eddy's pit?
Well, Mike Eddy is very, very tight, and if there's one guy you'd think could wrestle a tight race car, it'd be Mike Eddy. So that car should be pretty bad if he cannot bring it to the front.
Eddy dominated the middle portions of the race at Lanier 2 weeks ago, got caught up in a spin not of his own doing in turn 1. Cracked the radiator in that machine, dumped all the coolant. They tried hard to get him back on the racetrack, couldn't get it done before the end of the night, and Eddy with his second consecutive finish deep in the final standings. But here he comes, the 88 car starting to rumble now. Shown in 12th, he's cleared a couple of cars, he's behind Robbie Pyle, but the leaders are about half a track ahead with 135 laps remaining. Looking up a little further, Wimmer and Hansen battling it out. Wimmer in the 05 is 9th. Hansen is 10th in the white number 5. Clanton directly in front of him in the 83. Riding at 8th. And Larry Foyt spins for the second time today. AJ's son gets that car gathered up. He stopped at turn 4. Caution waves. And he Spence in the flag stand with the yellow in hand for the 8th time this afternoon. And Steve, I started to say, and we got caught in another story, but on that last restart, Bob Diller had told us that Tim Sauter had decided not to stop, knowing he needs one more fuel stop at least. Obviously gambling with 7 cautions in the first 140 laps or so, that the odds were we'd see a few more yellows before the day's done.
Yeah, that's why they won the championship last year, Rick. They know how to play the strategy. He knew not to give up track position at that point. And let's take a look at the replay of the latest incident.
Very quick rookie Larry Foyt in the Harris 14. Butch Miller and AJ Foyt, the car owners, in contact there with Brandon Sperling. Not of Larry Foyt's doing. It looked like Sperling just got into him a little bit.
Might have been impatient, and we talked about that several times, Rick. You have to negotiate traffic on this racetrack, and they don't want to wait. They want to get to the front if a slower car is in front of them.
Well, there are so many strong cars in the American Speed Association, so many guys capable of winning. They're afraid to give up too much track position. Under caution, we'll take a quick timeout. Right back for more at Hickory. Back live at Hickory, North Carolina, the ASA AC-Delco Series on TNN Sports. I'm Rick Benjamin with Steve Burns, Bob Dillner on pit road. 1 lap till green, the indication coming down from the flag stand. Show you what brought out the most recent caution here this afternoon. This is on board Scott Wimmer's machine coming through turn 4. There you saw the contact. Brandon Sperling just nudging Larry Foyt's purple number 14 machine. Car goes around. Now, during pit stops, Joey Clanton's car looked like the dump can caught fire. They were putting fuel in the 83 car. We suspect perhaps a hot left rear brake rotor might have caught a little splash of fuel on fire. Put out quickly, everybody's okay. Pontiac Grand Prix pace car from the ASA AC-Delco Series is in. We're back underway on lap 172, 128 to go. Tim Sauter, your restart leader. Bob Dillner, some indication they might be thinking about trying to gamble with fuel. What's going to go on down there?
Well, crew chief Mike Chaffee just told me they are going to roll the dice. And tell me why. In practice, you did the gas mileage calculations, but you said you missed calculating the pace laps?
Yeah, we're just kind of getting some mixed signals on our fuel mileage from the last couple of races is really all we have to go with. The car's working really well right now, and actually the track's even coming to us, so I think we're going to roll the dice here, and if we get past, we'll come in and put tires and try to pass everyone again.
How close is it going to be?
It's going to be very close.
Very close, the word from Mike Chaffee, the crew chief. That team, the season champions, the national title holders from 1999. And obviously the new tires, the new engine package have not slowed Tim Sauter down a bit. He is your leader. Coming up on 120 to go. But Kevin Sawinski and Mike Garvey are right with him. And we saw several times the 6 of Dave Sensiba. And Steve, that may be the story of the afternoon, that Sensiba pretty much a one-man show here this weekend, losing his major sponsor. He has run super strong.
He had a very good deal at the beginning of the season. Looks like the deal went sour, and now he's trying to make it just from race to race. And in fact, as we said, Rick, if he does not find a sponsor, he cannot continue, and that's a shame because he is a great racer and makes a huge contribution to this series.
Now the top 4 are single file, but look at this, from 5th back to 8th spot. The 05 of Scott Wimmer battling with the 33 of Greg Stewart for 5th. The 05 Wimmer to the inside will take the spot away. So give Wimmer 5th spot. He has led a bunch of laps here today. Your winner at Lanier a couple of weeks ago. Stewart, though, doing a great job in 6th. He's got behind him Brandon Sperling, the pole sitter. 5 of Scott Hansen. Bob Dillner, they've got to be pleased with the run Greg Stewart's having today.
Well, both Greg Stewart and Scott Wimmer, both of those guys didn't like this track too much yesterday. They had a lot of trouble. Now, Greg Stewart and Scott Wimmer are coming to the front of the pack. Actually, interesting note on Greg Stewart's car. He has the 100th Vortec V8 engine built in that car this weekend.
And Stewart with it flat-footed at the moment, down into 1, but Scott Hansen, Stewart starting to push a little bit, it appears, in 1 and 2, able to hold off Hansen for the time being as they fight for 6th. Stewart has the spot. Hansen in the 5 car, Don Finetti Structural Transport Taurus, 7th. Right behind him in 8th, the 40 of Sperling, the pole sitter. The Crookston Chevrolet, so strong in the first 75 laps. Brandon has used a little different pit stop strategy. Hasn't been able to get the track position back and get to the front. On board the Grease Lightning camera, that's the 23 of Rick Beebe. We're taking a ride with in trouble. Stewart goes around on the front straightaway. Another car involved there as well. Looked like Robbie Pyle might have been caught up in that, but Stewart does a 360. Avoids again the concrete pit wall down the front stretch. Gets it stopped, puts it in gear, has it refired. But we are under caution for what would be the 9th time here this afternoon. Caution waving at Hickory Motor Speedway. 184 laps are on the board, and Stewart, with that great run going, is going to duck onto pit road, have his crew right there. Look at there. Now you can see what we were talking about, how there is pit stalls. There are pit stalls on the inside and the outside of that paved part of the infield here at Hickory Motor Speedway. Show you one more time. It was Scott Hansen in the 5 that Stewart got together. Look at this off 4. Just a little nudge, enough to turn Stewart around.
And he was having such a great run, Rick. His best career finish, 6th at Lakeland in our season opener, and he hit the wall a ton.
Mentioned that he didn't hit anything, didn't see that he did, but as you can see there, he did side slap the inside retaining wall. Bob Dillner?
Well, crew chief Alan Massengill is actually looking at the rear end of the car right now. They don't know what broke, but they do know something in the rear suspension is wrong with this car.
Getting a panhard bar.
They are actually talking about things, and I heard crew chief Alan Massengill say it's a panhard bar on the 33.
Thought we saw when he brought the car onto pit road that the center section of the rear end might have been moved over a little bit. Looked as though the left rear wheel was hanging outside the bodywork. If we can pull the camera to the other side, I think we can show you what might have happened. You can see it looks like the bodywork and the rear axle are a little misaligned there. So when Stewart hit the wall, I think he moved the rear end around a little in the car. There's the tire outside the bodywork on the left side. So the Stewart crew will have their work cut out for him here at Hickory. Under caution, we'll be back in a moment. About ready to go green, the Jani-King 300 at Hickory Motor Speedway at Hickory, North Carolina. ASA stock car action on TNN Sports. I'm Rick Benjamin with Steve Burns, Bob Dillner on pit road. Green is in the air. We're back underway, closing in on the final 100 laps this Easter weekend. Glad to have you with us. Your leader is Tim Sauter in the blue and white Build-A-Mold Chevrolet. 21 of Kevin Sawinski in second. Show you why the 9th caution came out a moment ago. Contact off of 4, the 33 of Greg Stewart. Little help it looked like from Scott Hansen.
And Rick, we've said it several times today, they get a big run going down the hill there. The front stretch goes downhill into a little valley, if you will, that comes out of turn 1. Doesn't take much to get them turned around.
On board, watching from Rick Beebe's All-Star Pontiac, and there you saw Stewart around. He side-slapped the wall inside with the right side of the car, moved the center section of the rear end around to that machine. You heard crew chief Alan Massengill say a broken panhard bar. Bob Dillner on pit road. Everything seems to be working fine this race day with these GM Vortec motors.
Well, they are powerful and they are running really well. And let me show you what the key to this entire engine is. It doesn't come underneath the hood. It's actually in the cockpit. That's the computer box, or a PCM. We have one out here, and I can show you all these little sensors right here. This is where hundreds of little wires go into, and they tell you, oh, when to turn the fan on, or when to advance the timing, or even setting the rev limiter for these cars. And we got a car in the wall.
Sure do. Up in turn 2 again. It's the 93 of Alec Pinsino. Second time today he's been in trouble. And again, the caution waves here at Hickory. So Pinsino, who spun in 4 earlier, has caught the wall in 2, and that has been one of the big trouble spots here today. at Hickory Motor Speedway. ASA making its first ever appearance here in North Carolina at this racetrack, and I think this is an afternoon a lot of guys will remember for a long time, Steve Burns.
Yeah, and it's just as we predicted. Lots of side-by-side, nose-to-tail, bumping and grinding, typical bull ring action. And, you know, Bob was talking about the PCM, the computer aspect of this motor, that it's so fascinating. As you said, Rick, it comes from General Motors. It's a factory-sealed motor. $12,000 is the price tag. Very affordable for these racers.
Sealed, of course, upfitted for racing by John Lingenfelder's Performance Engineering Company in Indiana. Team's very happy with what they're getting from Lingenfelder and from GM Powertrain. Under caution, we'll be back right after this. Our coverage today of the ASA's Jani-King 300 is being brought to you by Grease Lightning Multi-Purpose Degreaser. Back live at Hickory Motor Speedway, 100 laps to go. Your restart leader is Tim Sauter, and look at this. Scott Wimmer has worked his way back to second in the 05. Kevin Sawinski restarts third. Mike Garvey, Brandon Sperling, and Rick Beebe for the final 100 trips here at Hickory, and we are underway. Glad to have you with us on a sunny Saturday afternoon here in central North Carolina. Beautiful day for racing on Easter weekend in the year 2000. I'm Rick Benjamin with Steve Burns, Bob Dillner on pit road, on board with Rick Beebe, running in 6th position. One driver who has not gotten his way back to the front yet, the driver of the number 6 Pontiac, Dave Sensiba, but he has done a great job today. He's run in the top 5 much of the afternoon, Steve Burns, and he's got a great story to tell.
Yeah, he's now running in 20th position, but as we said, he's struggling to keep his season going, his career going. One of the guys helping, you can see right there, is Scott Deal. He works on the 20 car in the Winston Cup Series of Tony Stewart. He's from Lansing, Michigan, and Scott has worked with ASA drivers like Tim Fedewa, Bob Seneker, and Glenn Allen Jr., Bob Dillner.
Well, Steve, he is actually the car chief for Tony Stewart on the Winston Cup Series. And you know, Scott, you come here to Hickory on your off weekend, and you don't come to watch the race, you come to actually crew chief for Dave Sensiba today.
Well, I'll tell you, Dave's a great friend of mine, and he's been needing to have a good run. He needs to attract a sponsor. He's doing this all of his own pocket right now, and I felt bad for him, so I just want to come out and do whatever I could to see if we can get him a good run today.
You told me you just came in and you did not want to give up that track position, did you?
No, track position is so important here, but the car started going away on us, and we were forced. If we didn't pit, we were going to finish 10th, and so we need to come in and hopefully do ourselves better than that.
Steve, I spoke to Dave Sensiba yesterday, and he has a very difficult situation. He says if he does not have a good run here and does not get a sponsor, he will not be able to run any more races this year.
And Bob also, he's one of those guys that pulled an all-nighter trying to get that race car ready. He's got the heart of a racer.
Trouble down the front stretch. Rick Johnson in trouble going into one. He has spun the 22 car. You can see that one coming. Gets it shoved back into gear. Gets out of harm's way. Caution flies once again. Ricky Johnson, the 1999 Pat Shower Rookie of the Year in American Speed Association action. With trouble, he was whipsawing that machine down the front stretch. Had a little help coming out of turn 4, getting crossed up. Ricky, the veteran, dirt tracker veteran, off-road and motocross racer, has gotten the car straightened up, didn't hit anything, I'm sure of it this time, and got it pointed in the right direction. Johnson was running solidly in the top 6 for much of the afternoon. After pitting, he had come back up through the field, was being shown back in 20th, but trying to get back into contention as we look at the 93 of Alec Pinsino. Not involved in this one. Pinsino had brought out the last caution by hitting the second turn wall. This is caution 11 for the 22 of Rick Johnson. We'll show you what happened as Johnson worked his way. There he is. He went to the right, almost caught a big bite of the wall. Yeah, sure did. Gary St. Amant right behind him, able to get on the binders and stay out of the back fenders of the 22.
Rick, that had to hurt his left thumb. As I said, he showed me before the race, he has looks like a household screw, and it has poked through the skin. He heard it at Gainesville, heard it again doing some off-road testing, as you mentioned, and that's just got to be intensely painful as he grabs that steering wheel.
Ricky Johnson, a great guy, great individual, wonderful family man, and a great story. Two-wheel champion in the Supercross ranks years ago. He's been an off-road champion in trucks, maybe the toughest form of racing in the world. Plans on running the Baja 2000 at the end of this year, one of the legendary off-road races. He's going to come to pit road now. He is the ASA's reigning Rookie of the Year, a real championship contender. The Herzog team over the wall. They'll do right side tires on the 22 and check the front end quickly. Brandon Sperling, the pole sitter, is on pit road. his pit on the outside. But let's check back in on Ricky Johnson's situation. Bob Dillner.
Well, Ricky Johnson flat spotted his tires when he spun there in turn number 1. He said he'll be okay. He was testing this week a Baja truck in preparation for the Baja 2000 a little later this year. He's running that for Herzog Motorsports. Also on pit road this time, Mike Eddy changed left side tires.
Eddy's a guy I think we'll hear from before this one's over. 90 laps remain. Sperling service on pit road. He's going to get back in the mix. And you saw the 07 of Jack Landis. We'll try to get you a look at that car. Landis, the yellow and white Ford, just about to pull out onto the racetrack too, along with that group of the 40 car and the 27 of Philip Cranifus. More cars to pit road, the 72 of Curley, the 14 of Voigt. There's Landis on the backstretch. What a story. Jack Landis had to take a provisional and the Noah Yoder Ford to start 34th. Landis being shown in 4th spot when the caution came out. He'll have to come from the back, though, in the last 85 laps. Back with more at Hickory in just a moment. We're live at Hickory Motor Speedway in Hickory, North Carolina. The American Speed Association on TNN Sports. Tim Sauter in the blue and white number 9 is your leader, the Build-A-Mold Chevrolet. Right behind him, rookie Scott Wimmer from Wisconsin in the Sierra Race Products machine, the black 05. 1 win under his belt already in his rookie campaign. And here's a look at Mike Miller in the 18. He's got Robbie Pyle and Butch Miller in the 52 with him as they whistle out of turn number 4. They're running 7th, 8th, and 9th. With about 80 to go here in Hickory. Butch Miller, remember, has a victory at this racetrack in the NASCAR Busch Series several years ago. He likes this place and thought his car was going to be great on the longer runs. We'll see if things will come to him. If we have a lot more cautions, I think that may change the mix of drivers we see in contention in the last 25 laps or so here. But we'll see how it shakes out down the backstretch. Mike Miller starting to rumble now. There's Joey Clanton working inside Tristan Dupuis as they battle for 10th and 11th position. Robbie Pyle right there in the 8 car. He's being shown 9th at the moment.
The 11 car got sideways there, Rick, coming off of turn 4. Tristan Dupuis did a good job of saving it.
Frechetta Pizza Pontiac. Frechetta on the car this week. Kind of a rotating series of sponsors for Tristan Dupuis in his 2nd year on the tour. He has adapted beautifully to ASA competition. Was very strong as a rookie last year. Clandon, the 83, starting to get going now. They had that pit road fire. Look at the blackened bodywork on the left rear corner of the Steve Dale machine there as he comes out of turn 4. Clandon was running up in the top 3 early. He's working his way back to 10th with less than 80 to go, but trouble. The one of Mike Garvey spins for the 2nd time today. Garvey, it looked like all by himself that time in turn 2. Plenty of smoke showing, and the caution is waving once again. So the Tecumseh Chevrolet unable to get things going the right way here this afternoon at Hickory. Garvey loses a lot of track position. The safety car comes out, picks up Sauter again as the race leader. 12th caution of the afternoon on lap 222.
You know, this actually is going to help Tim Sauter. You know, they were worried about not being able to make it on fuel mileage, on gas. Well, these caution laps, most teams tell me that their mileage is about doubles, not overall, but they can get double the miles to the gallon when they run a pace lap.
So obviously the more caution laps, the better they are in terms of fuel window and fuel economy on the racetrack. Pontiac Grand Prix, ASA's official pace car once again in the 2000 season, on board with Garvey. He's back on the racetrack. We're still on the racetrack. Has not come to pit road yet. We're not sure if he's going to try to come down and check those tires to see if he might be flat spotted.
Hopefully we got enough time to do both.
Garvey talking to his crew on the radio there, trying to decide whether they're going to do 2 tires or what the situation will be. Safety car back on the track. Looks like the 40 of Brandon Sperling, your pole sitter today. They're going to come back onto pit road.
Wow, that's interesting.
Bob Dillner told us a few moments ago they were planning to try to go all the way from about halfway on. They have pitted twice at least since then. Bob Dillner, Brandon Sperling again on pit road. What's going on down there?
Well, everybody's surprised here. I just spoke to crew chief Cole Chitty, and he said the car just went sour about 20 laps ago. He's on pit road. They just changed left side tires. Now they are putting on right side tires because the car is very tight. And he's turning the car in the corner and making it loose coming off the corner. Cole Chitty actually works at Hendrick Motorsports in the R&D department. One other note, over the radio, Mike Garvey's radio, he said, and I quote, "I was looking at the gauges and I just lost it."
Thought he was alone. That's a rare mistake for one of the great drivers in the American Speed Association. Garvey to the backstretch, exit of pit road here. We'll group up with the 8 of Pyle and the 40 of Sperling and the 88 of Mike Eddy, who came back onto pit road one more time too. We'll show you what happened. This is down in turn 1 and 2, and there you see the 1 of Garvey all by himself on the outside there when the car got away from him.
All I saw was smoke billowing off the tires. Didn't know if anybody hit him, and you can see right there from on board, Rick. He just comes right around.
Close call for Gary St. Amant. You saw St. Amant's yellow Goodwrench Chevrolet go by on the low side, just missing the contact there with Garvey. Mike back underway. He'll have to fall to the back of the pack. Looks like he's going to come back onto pit road. Maybe they'll change the other side tires before we go green once again. The safety car still out on the speedway. 74 laps remaining. And a reminder for you, if you're looking for action Wednesday night, you've come to the right place. Dead Man's Gun, 18 Wheels of Justice, and the Magnificent Seven. It's a whole night of action every Wednesday right here on TNN's Action Wednesday. A big night in the Burns household, I know.
Any night's a good night for action, particularly Wednesdays. TNN, Action Wednesdays.
All right, still under caution here at Hickory. 74 to go, and the field is regrouping behind the leader, Tim Sauter, in the safety car out there. And we've got a ton of ASA action coming your way this season here on TNN Sports. We're back with you in 2 weeks on Sunday, May the 7th, 1:30 Eastern and Pacific time from Montgomery Motor Speedway in Alabama. The ASA AC-Delco Series will be going to Montgomery for the first time ever. We'll be with you live. Of course, TNN Race Day will originate from Montgomery at 11 o'clock Eastern that day as well. Looking forward to going down there. Half-mile racetrack. It'll be the 3rd race in a row that ASA goes to a brand new speedway in the year 2000.
And that'll be new for me, Rick. I have never been to Montgomery. Looking forward to it.
Taking a look at the 2 of Chad Wood. Wood sitting on pit wall, one of the Musgrave Motorsports Fords there. Wood had belted the outside retaining wall coming down the backstretch many laps ago, and he's been out of action since then. Pit road quiet for the time being. Still working on John Curley's 72 down toward the first turn into pit road. We'll set the restart order for you here. Tim Sauter in the 9, Scott Wimmer in the 05. There's the 72 of Curley working on the left side of that machine. Kevin Sawinski, Rick Beebe, Gary St. Amant will be in your top 5 when we get ready to go green in a moment. You know, many NASCAR stars have come through the American Speed Association. 3-time Winston Cup champ Darrell Waltrip won the very first national touring race in ASA history. It was in 1972. DW was watching our event from Lanier a couple of weeks ago. Likes what he sees in the 2000 season.
It's a driver's series, and the reason I say that is you have to be able to work on your own car. You got to be willing to drive the tow truck. You got to be willing to stay up all night and work on that car to get it ready for the next race. It's a good training ground so that when you get to where you have everything that you need, you know how to use it.
And Rick, just like Darrell said, you have to do everything in this series, and that's one of the things I like. They work on the cars, they work in the shop, they drive the trucks, and then they drive the race car. And as Darrell said, the series, for these guys, it's in the driver's hands.
Watching from Rick Beebe's number 23 car. Right behind him is Gary St. Amant. Butch Miller's on the outside in the black 52 car. Beebe at the moment in the 23 running 4th. St. Amant and Miller fighting for 5th right behind him. Final 50 laps coming up shortly. 2:31 on the board, 69 remaining. St. Amant to the low side. Now they are watching Kevin Sawinski, who is lined up 3rd at the moment in the black 21 car. Beebe 4th, St. Amant and Butch Miller all in the hunt. Mike Miller's back in there too, along with Joey Clanton. You've got 5 of the all-time greats really grouped up right there. 3rd through 7th spot right now. Scott Hansen back in 10th position. St. Amant working the low side. This is his type of racetrack and his type of race. He is very patient, very smooth. You're never going to see Gary St. Amant make a bonsai charge. What he is going to do is nibble at you all afternoon until he gets to the front. Back up in front, Tim Sauter, who last pitted on lap 155, getting a hard challenge from Scott Wimmer on the outside. Wimmer wants the point back. On board the USAMeets.com camera with Wimmer's machine, riding to the top side, trying to grab the lead. 65 to go, and Wimmer gets by. Scott Wimmer goes to the top spot in the 05. Sauter comes right back at him in the 9 car, but I don't think he's got enough tires under that machine at the moment. The 05 goes back to the point. 9 car refusing to give up. Sauter hangs right in there, has to tuck in behind. Trouble in 3. Dave Sensiba goes around in 3 and 4. We'll show it to you in a moment. Caution not on the speedway. No caution. Sensiba 360 stays off the wall. Steve Burns, I thought he was headed right to the concrete.
I couldn't believe that he didn't hit anything. But the 93 of Alec Pinsino is in the wall down in turn 1, Rick.
And we do get a caution now with 63 laps to go. So action at both ends of the speedway here at Hickory, North Carolina. Pinsino for the 3rd time today gets into the fence. Back into the Build-A-Mold Chevrolet, already bent pretty severely. Pinsino spinning, brings out the yellow. Sensiba, I couldn't believe it, Steve. I was looking back toward turn 4 while we were watching the on-track battle up in front. Buddy Gainey's car with some smoke showing. That's the 53, the Bissell machine. And up in turn 4, Sensiba had gone completely around, put up a huge shower of smoke in 3 and 4. Thought he was headed for the wall without question. Somehow managed to save the car, keep the caution from coming out. Now Sauter, who lost the lead a moment ago, comes to pit road. We were hearing from Bob Diller, if they lost the lead, they'd come in, they get a caution, fuel in the car, and right side tires, Bob Diller.
Well, they were so close on fuel. Mike Chaffee, the crew chief, told me that if they got passed on the track, they were going to come in. They just changed right side tires. Track position key here. Tim Sauter's got to go way in the back.
He does, because pit road was closed when he came down for that stop. So that's going to send Sauter to the back of the longest line on the racetrack. From 2nd spot, he'll have to go all the way to the rear of the field. Under caution, and the lead car, Sawinski, coming to pit road as well. So Scott Wimmer will take over when we get ready to go green with 60 to go at Hickory. Welcome back to Hickory Motor Speedway in Hickory, North Carolina. The American Speed Association live on TNN Sports. I'm Rick Benjamin with Steve Burns. Bob Diller earning his $1.39 today, running up and down pit road for us. Show you what happened with Scott Wimmer a couple of weeks ago at Lanier. Wimmer in the 05 car surprised us all. The rookie from Wisconsin, only his 2nd career start.
Oh, now wait a minute, Rick.
Once.
Wait a minute. You correctly predicted to watch the 05. I'm going to give you the credit there.
All right, thanks. I appreciate it. We had seen Wimmer run a few times over the years. Here's the spin when he was involved up in turn 1 with Mike Miller. Got the car gathered up, came back from the back to the front, and one going away at Lanier a couple of weeks ago. Great win. His dad, Ron, the crew chief, celebrating. Scott Wimmer doing a great job. Your restart leader here today on lap 244. 56 to go. Now Wimmer started 11th here today, so he's had his work cut out for him. Did not start up front, had to come from the middle portion of the field to grab the lead. On board Rick Beebe's machine, the Greased Lightning in-car camera. Beebe is 2nd, been very patient. We talked about him earlier. Right behind him, how about Butch Miller in the 52 car? Wimmer's 3rd career start. He's 1 for 2. What do you think, Steve? Batting .667 if he wins here today?
Boy, he's a great story, Rick. You know, Bob Diller and I had a chance to visit with him yesterday. Very quiet, shy, and as we mentioned earlier, his uncle was a famous racer in ASA, Larry Degens, who had 3 career wins and tragically was killed in 1981 in a racing incident. And Scott was telling us he was 5 years old, 4 years old, when he used to sneak into the Milwaukee Mile and watch his uncle race. So this is a dream come true for him.
Driver we talked about, a couple of drivers we talked about battling for 10th. How about Jack Landis, who started last today in 34th in the 07 car, the Noah Yoder Ford, and right alongside him, Mark E. Dismore in the 44. His dad racing in Las Vegas today. Mark started 24th. They are battling for 10th. They're in the late going, coming up on 50 to go. And Ricky Johnson in the 22, who spun and hit the wall earlier, back underway and doing a nice job moving toward the front again. Ricky Johnson is 9th, right ahead of that pair of cars. The blue and white Nationwide Auction System Chevrolet. Tristan Dupuis right in the hunt as well, running 8th in the yellow number 11, the Freshetta Pizza Machine. So these drivers doing a great job battling back after plenty of adversity. So many cautions on the board today. We're up to 13 so far. We've still got 50 laps of action to go. Almost everybody who's anybody's been involved in one of these things today, except the very few at the front of the field. Wimmer, Beebe was involved in one tangle earlier. Butch Miller has kept his nose clean so far today. How about Gary St. Amant as we watch that battle for 9th? Mark Dismore and Tristan Dupuis going at it. Sitting 9th and 10th in the field. Ricky Johnson directly ahead in 8th, side by side for 9th. Dupuis on the high side. A little body damage to the 11 car there. Dismore showing his open wheel heritage, I think, in the Formula 4 2000 Series. And Sensiba has spun again. Dave Sensiba between turns 1 and 2 this time. Gets it kicked around in the right direction. Sensiba, who had a good top 5 going earlier, has spun twice, gets refired with 48 to go. Pointed in the right direction, but the caution is out. For what would be the 14th time this afternoon, Sensiba will have to come around and catch the back of the field. Tough break indeed for the driver from Michigan. Sensiba had worked his way back up through the pack after the spin earlier. He'll have to go to the back and try it all over again with less than 50 to go. Welcome back to Hickory Motor Speedway in Hickory, North Carolina. The American Speed Association on TNN Sports. Caution on the Speedway right now. 46 laps to go. Dave Sensiba spinning for the second time this afternoon down between turns 1 and 2. The MC Sports Pontiac. Dave needing a good run today to pick up a sponsor and continue in competition. One of the great ASA veterans. Contact between he and Mike Garvey a moment ago, which may have started the spin.
Yeah, they're side by side. Sensiba on the inside, Garvey on the outside. And you see Garvey wiggle there, and that's when Sensiba went around.
Garvey just kept that car off the fence. Mike has spun a couple of times today too, which you hardly ever see. One of the guys who's turning in a great run today, Sensiba back on the Speedway. The 1998 ASA champion Gary St. Amant quietly has moved from 21st on the grid to 3rd. Bob Dillner, what do they think? Do they have a shot at Scott Wimmer here in the late going?
Well, I've been standing here with crew chief Bill McGowan in the middle of turns 1 and 2. No other driver can keep it on the bottom like Gary St. Amant, but Bill, you're telling me Gary's actually not that happy with the car.
No, well, we got 50 to go here. Gary's pretty comfortable with these types of racetracks, but pretty tough cats out there, so we're gonna hang on and see what we can do.
The winner at Lakeland, he looks good here today, but he's got to get by the second race winner, Scott Wimmer.
He does. Wimmer, your restart leader. He has been one of the dominant, if not the dominant car here today. He and Tim Sauter. Rick Beebe second, St. Amant and Butch Miller fighting for 3rd. Miller to the high side, saying that Butch doesn't like the way his car's handling. Does seem to be pushing in the corners, moving to the outside of the racetrack. But if there's a guy who can drive an ill-handling race car, it's certainly Butch Miller, and he's shown that here today. On board Beebe in second. St. Amant inside wants the spot. St. Amant knows it's time to show your hand. Beebe able to hold on to second right now. Beebe's in the white car with the star on the side, the traditional Jerry Gunderman paint scheme on that car. Gunderman, the car owner.
Rick, Gary St. Amant said that this track reminds him a lot of Columbus Speedway in Columbus, Ohio, his home track. And we've got trouble again.
Larry Foyt has gone around for the 3rd time today. This is again turn 2, the spot that has been the most troublesome for these ASA teams. No caution, though. The yellow will stay in the hand of flagman Danny Spence. Will stay green. Foyt will pick back up. Wimmer, your leader. Beebe there in second. Foyt will tuck back into line, not on the lead lap. St. Amant now 3rd in the 7. Butch Miller is 4th. The spin will make the front 5 drivers go nose to tail. Butch Miller riding 4th. Mike Miller 5th. Joey Clinton hanging right in there in 6th in the 83 car. You look back from Rick Beebe's machine. He moves to the outside. St. Amant able to ride the low side here at Hickory. Down in turn 3, your leader is Wimmer, the black 05 car.
You know, Scott Wimmer only has one other guy, full-time guy, helping him on that race car. His dad owns a construction company. Scott Wimmer also has a younger brother who races a late model, and they kind of help each other. But again, another thing I love about this series, Rick, guys working hard to achieve their dreams.
The American Dream Series, many call it. Talked about Scott Wimmer back at Lanier when we said, hey, this guy might have a chance. Qualified well. A veteran, a young veteran of the Wisconsin short tracks, one of the toughest late model race areas in the country. Races 4 nights, 5 nights a week during the summer at Slinger and places like that. Coming to ASA after a good run in the Hooters Pro Cup Series a couple of years ago, too. Dusted him at Lanier, and he's in the process of doing it again here at Hickory.
Rick, he was talking to us about his experience in the Hooters Series last year. Now, their shop is up in Wisconsin. He would drive. They had 3 or 4 races in Lakeland, 26 hours one way they would drive.
That's plenty of want to go racing.
That's
no
desire.
It is. St. Amant up to 3rd, riding behind Beebe, having to go to the outside of the lap traffic there. On board with Scott Wimmer. USAMeets.com onboard camera looking back at 2nd and 3rd. A spin up between 1 and 2. Mike Miller in trouble. Miller was in the top 5 solidly. Loops it, continues, no caution. Miller loses tons of track position. Bob Dillner was telling us during the last break that Mike Miller and Carl Hyland, his crew chief, were very happy. Thought they had a great shot at winning this one, but it may just have gone away because we have less than 40 laps remaining here at Hickory. And Miller now is going to have to come from way back in the pack. Tucks in back at about 19th spot behind Mike Eddy and behind Mike Garvey. Tristan Dubuis back there as well. We'll put Miller back in 14th right now as we check the scoring monitor for you. Miller up in turn 2 right behind Eddy. They represent a lot of race victories between those two, and we'll show you. Apparently Miller and Butch Miller, the two Millers, unrelated, got into it coming down off the main straightaway into 1, and there it is. Butch Miller just into the left rear quarter panel of the 18 of Mike Miller, last year's second-place driver in national championship standings. Goes for quite a ride, but with that veteran talent, keeps it off the wall. And we have no caution on the Speedway. Mike Eddy in the 88 car, hoping to drive to the front. He's up to 13th to the inside of Dupuis, going for 12th. And here's Mike Miller thinking about making it 3 wide. Can't get enough of a jump down the back straightaway to power inside Eddy there. Robbie Pyle riding there too in the 8 car. He's 15th on the board with 28 to go. We're inside 30 left.
And Rick, meanwhile, Scott Wimmer's really starting to stretch it out.
Again to the inside of Dupuis. This is a battle for position. The 88 riding in 13th spot. Dupuis is 12th. Fighting hard not to give up the position. Of course, national championship points at stake. $200,000 this year to the American Speed Association national champion. Mike Miller was in contention. That spin and resulting no caution puts him pretty deep in the running order. Coming up on 25 to go. And as Steve mentioned a moment ago, Wimmer has opened up about 15 car lengths over the second-place driver, Rick Beebe. Back with plenty more at Hickory in a moment. They say Rubbin's racing. We've got proof positive of that for you today at Hickory Motor Speedway. Some of the excitement this afternoon in the Jani-King 300 for the American Speed Association. We are now under caution for the 15th time today. Mark Dismore losing the Herzog Chevrolet, the Monster.com 44 car, up between turns 1 and 2, which has been a very treacherous place on the racetrack. Spun, just nicked the wall with the right rear corner of the car. Mark Dismore will bring the car onto pit road to the attention of his Herzog crew. No, he won't either. He'll stay out on the racetrack. We'll show you what happened. He and Brandon Sperling, very close quarters up there between 1 and 2. Sperling may have given him a little nudge going into the turn. And Mark just with a little contact with the concrete, able to get the car back underway, and he will stay out on the racetrack. Doesn't want to give up any more track position under this caution. 18 laps to go. 282 are complete right now, and we'll show it to you, show you the spin that brought out the caution from onboard Mike Garvey's Tecumseh Chevrolet coming off the 4th corner. There's the 40, the red car on the inside, and the 44. Looked like there was definitely a little contact there.
And I'll tell you who did not want to see that was Scott Wimmer.
Absolutely.
Because he was checked out and headed for home.
Wimmer in the 05 has been the dominant car here this afternoon. Second time today he's been in the lead, had the lead for the past 50 laps or so. This allows Gary St. Amant, who so patiently has drawn to the front in the Wins Goodwrench Bud Gibbons Chevrolet, the 7 car, the 1998 ASA national champion, will restart second right behind Wimmer. He won the season opener at Lakeland, which Wimmer did not make. The 05, though, looking for a second consecutive victory in American Speed Association action. And don't count out Rick Beebe. The Kansas Rocket Man will restart third. Joey Clanton, who's gone around a couple of times, has been very persistent today. He'll line up 4th in the 83. Scott Hansen will go 5th in the 5. Ricky Johnson restarts 6th. 16 laps to go at Hickory, and we are underway. And Wimmer puts that thing into the wind and says bye. And contact between Hansen and Clanton. Hansen has to get out of the gas, and Johnson rolls by in a 5th spot.
And Wimmer got a great restart, starting to pull away now from Gary St. Amant.
Wimmer in the black 05 is your leader. St. Amant in the yellow 7 is second. Beebe in the white 23 rides third. 4th spot to the 83 of Clanton. There's your battle for second. Wimmer's already pulled out to 6 car lengths.
If he's got any nerves for a 24-year-old, they aren't showing, Rick, because he just rock solid on that restart, got a great jump.
Remember at Lanier, he spun, hooked up with Mike Miller, really turned Miller around when he had a shot to win. Wimmer recovered and won the race. Today, he hasn't put a wheel wrong since the drop of the green. We'll take you back all the way through the field, show you where your favorite driver sits at the moment with 12 laps to go. And there's Mark Dismore at the back of the pack after that spin. 25 cars remaining on the racetrack. Wimmer as we close in on 10 to go. St. Amant on the low side, trying to reel him back in. St. Amant not dropping any further off the pace, but not making much progress either. Beebe riding in formation in third. Little push, it appears, in the 23 car. Clanton, who has been all over the lot in the 83, has really shown me a lot today. He spun at least once. He's fought handling in that car much of the afternoon, but has been extremely strong, getting back to 4th and holding on at the moment, looking for a top 5 finish. Ron Wimmer, Scott's dad and crew chief atop the pit box, watching his son get ready to take home another big check from the American Speed Association, perhaps this afternoon. Less than 10 to go at Hickory Motor Speedway.
And he was very emotional Gainesville when his son won. He said it's the first time he'd been around a win since Larry Degens, Scott's uncle, was killed in 1981. Very emotional for that family.
Wimmer with clear racetrack in front of him. No lap traffic to contend with here in the final 8 laps at Hickory. Gary St. Amant within shouting distance in second. This is the battle for 6th. Brandon Sperling is 7th at the moment. Butch Miller in the 52 is 6th, but he's going to give it up, it looks like. Butch telling us earlier the car was pushing. No change there. They haven't been able to get the handling right yet on the Leroy Troop car, the 52 for Miller. Garvey right there in the 1 car. He's fought back from a couple of spins to sit 8th.
And remember, Rick, Brandon Sperling needed a top 5 finish for that team to have the funding, racing off the purse money right now to go on to the next race.
Major sponsor a year ago. They lost it. Larry Foyt has spun in turn 2. 5 laps to go. 5 to go. Foyt stopped on the apron of the track. No caution showing. Danny Spence showing the field. 5 to go. Foyt will stay there. Will stay green. It's still Wimmer. The 7 of St. Amant. The 23 of Beebe. The 83 of Clanton. As we watch Wimmer. Less than 5 trips remaining now. Ricky Johnson moves to 5th. Sperling is 6th. Butch Miller and Mike Garvey fight for 7th. But all alone out in front. What a great story. The youngster from Wisconsin, the 05, 24-year-old Scott Wimmer. This is the dogfight between the 52 and the 1 for 7th spot. Butch Miller, the 3-time series champion. Mike Garvey, a multiple race winner 1 year ago, has yet to win an ASA championship. Garvey with a very strong ride all afternoon, trying to work his way under Miller for position. This is for 7. 2 laps to go at Hickory, 2 to go. And your leader all alone is the 05 of Wimmer. As we watch that battle for 7th, Scott Hansen right there as well in the 5. He is 9th with a chance at 7th. Garvey bumps into Miller. Miller wrestles the car, keeps it under control. White flag is in the air. As we watch the battle for 6th, 7th, and 8th, all alone is the 05 of Scott Wimmer. I don't believe it. For the 2nd time in a row, the rookie from Wisconsin is your winner. The checkered flag for Scott Wimmer and the 05 machine, carrying the USAMeats.com sponsorship today for us. Wimmer unbuckles, raises his hand out the window, drops the window net. He has won 2 straight in ASA competition from Wausau, Wisconsin, coming from 11th on the grid for the victory in the Jani-King 300. Gary St. Amant checkers in 2nd. Rick Beebe takes 3rd. Joey Clanton, Ricky Johnson, Brandon Sperling, your top 6 unofficially. But Scott Wimmer peels the gloves off, gives the field a thumbs up. And we will meet the winner in victory lane in just a moment here at Hickory Motor Speedway. The fans got their money's worth today. We know you did too. Plenty more coverage to come from the American Speed Association in a moment. Unbelievable. Rookie Scott Wimmer has pulled a rabbit out of his helmet for the 2nd time in 3 weeks in American Speed Association competition. Downstairs to Bob Dillon.
Well, we have the Wimmers here in victory lane. I think you can get used to this, couldn't you, Scott?
Yeah, I'm getting used to it pretty fast. After 2 weeks ago, I thought, 1 win was just awesome, but to come back and repeat it's unbelievable.
When I talked to you yesterday, you didn't know if you could actually win this race. You weren't happy with this car and the performance here.
No, we got pretty lucky in qualifying. We ripped a lap off there, and just in hot laps, we were struggling in our long runs, and I went back to what I did at Lanier, and it just ended up working great.
Let's get a word with your dad here. We'll get him in here because he's a proud papa. What do you have to say to your son?
Well, it's an awesome car and an awesome driver. There's no doubt about it. Bring 2 in a row home like this. I knew he could do it. I mean, he's a driver. He's won before, so it's a heck of a nice Easter present.
We talked a couple weeks ago when you won. Father's Day comes a little bit early. The Easter Bunny delivers one for you.
Right, I'm not going to be home for Easter Bunny, so this is my present.
Hey, Rick, these guys still do not have a sponsor. You see USA Meats on that car. Kevin Conway didn't qualify for this race, so they put that sponsor on the car, but these guys are still looking for a sponsor. Not a bad team to pick up, don't you think?
I think it'd be a great deal for somebody. I think the hunt may be over very shortly. A great run for Scott Wimmer here today and his dad, Ron. What an impressive performance. Steve Burns lined up in 11th spot today, picked his way to the front inside the first 120 laps or so, and after that, it was pretty much his race to lose.
Yep, he checked out. And now here's an amazing stat. a rookie has only won back-to-back races one other time in ASA history, Rick. That was Kevin Sawinski back in 1996, and that was in August of that year. He probably already had 14, 15 races under his belt. For Scott Wimmer to do it in his third career start, unbelievable, as you said.
And one of the drivers Wimmer whipped today was Sawinski, who finished pretty deep in the field, actually, after some late pit work. In fact, back in 18th spot unofficially for the 1997 Series champion. A reminder, you know, cars aren't the only thing making contact and jamming around the track. Follow the exploits of badness indeed. Don't miss Roller Jam, Friday nights at 9 Eastern in the Pacific. It's a part of TNN's Thrill Zone Friday, the Roller Jam. Well, I'll tell you, one guy who I thought would be in contention late in the going here, he certainly was. 1998 Series champ Gary St. Amant downstairs with Bob Dillon.
Well, Gary St. Amant, Rick, is still all smiles down here with his son, Jordan. Jordan was just trying to grab the microphone a little bit to go, and I think he wants to be a reporter. But, Gary, great run here today.
It was a great run for us, Bob. You know, starting back in 21st, I was a little bit worried on this tight racetrack, and we learned a lot last night. That 100-lapper, I got up in the top of the racetrack, and it doesn't look anything like it feels like out there on the racetrack. And once I got up there and I saw this place is just another Columbus Motor Speedway, talked to a few guys. They said keep it on the bottom of the racetrack, and that's what we did today with the Win Chevrolet, and it was just a great run for us coming all the way from 21st.
What do you think about this kid, Wimmer?
Well, they got their act together, and they're definitely going to make everybody else do the homework. You know, right now, you know, he's the car to beat, and everybody else needs to get the work. I have a feeling the 9 car would have been right there. I think he was off a little bit on tire sequence, and he's going to be awful tough for the rest of the year.
Little Jordan, you're going to be a racer someday?
Yeah, Jordan, tell him, you know, we got to thank Port City and Lane Automotive and GM Goodwrench. Yep, well, tell him. Yeah, big boy.
Gary St. Amant, still your ASA point leader.
St. Amant, of course, won the season opener at Lakeland, finishes second here today in round 3 of the 2000 championship season for the American Speed Association. Many more stories to bring you from Hickory as we take a look at the top 10 of the Jani-King 300. Our exclusive coverage today of the ASA Jani-King 300 has been brought to you by BF Goodrich Tires. Take control. Back live at Hickory Motor Speedway in Hickory, North Carolina. The Jani-King 300 complete. Scott Wimmer has won his second race in 3 starts in the ASA. Unbelievable for the 24-year-old from Wisconsin, but many other important and impressive runs here today. Back downstairs to Bob Dillner.
I'm here with Rick Beebe with his first top 5 of the year, and Rick, a dynamite run for you.
Yeah, Bob, I'll tell you, it's good to be up here, and you know, it's an eventful race, typical short track race. I mean, Hickory Speedway, I think, lived up to its name, and rough, tough, short track, you know, typical racing. But I got to thank Jerry Gunderman a lot for giving me a chance to race this year. He hung in there and had faith in me to come back and race, and AFCO and Redline Oil, Autotrader.com, and Grease Lightning for giving us the camera so we can give you guys a little bit of action out there. And hope you all enjoyed some of those old pictures. I say hi to Lori and Austin, and decent finish for us, podium finish. We'd like to have been up front, but my hat's off to Scott. He's got us covered right now.
You know, speaking of those old pictures, we did show you and your buddy Ron Keith there, you in the STP shirt. You know, he told us that you actually didn't like the races, that you held your ears early on there.
You know what's funny about that? My mom used to have to hold my ears at the races, and I was doing the exact same thing with my son Austin last week over at Lanier. So until he fell asleep anyway, and then we put him in the motorhome. But miss them being here this weekend, and he's a lot like me. I hope he ends up racing when he grows up.
It is a family sport, no doubt about it, and Rick Beebe is a great guy, a wonderful competitor in this series, has been for many years.
You know, he raced go-karts and raced against Scott Pruitt, who's now in the Winston Cup Series.
Very talented driver, to be sure. Show you the unofficial order of finish. Your top 10. Wimmer, the winner. We've talked to St. Amant and Beebe, the top 3. We'll hear from Joey Clanton and Ricky Johnson in a couple of moments. Good run for Brandon Sperling off the pole today. Second 10, Mike Miller, who was in contention before that late spin, climbs back to 11th. Robbie Pyle with a good day, coming home 12th after starting second. Tristan Dupuis and Mike Eddy. Larry Foyt, I'm surprised, gets a top 25. Now you think, well, that's not very impressive, but we counted 4 spins for Larry Foyt today as he learns what stock car racing is all about. Butch Miller says he's a natural. He's fast, has to learn how to race and race these cars.
Very
and he'll
smooth,
do that.
though. Very smooth.
Final 4 cars. Kevin Harvick, who was a contender early on, trouble for the Eaton Chevrolet AC-Delco 10 car, and Kevin left the race first today. Let's get back downstairs to Bob Dillner.
I'm here with Ricky Johnson, who finished in the top 5, and Ricky just told me, you know, Scott Wimmer at Lanier spun and won, and he figured he'd try it too, but you came up a little bit short.
Yeah, just 4 short. You know, Wimmer did a great job. I want to congratulate him and all the other guys up on the podium, but we had a great car. We struggled all day yesterday. Rolly did some great jobs, you know, changing the car around. I had Jimmy on the box watching and making some changes, but that Nationwide Auction System World, BestBuy.com Chevy Monte Carlo was running good and just got caught up. So if, ands, or buts, you know, we had a shot at the win, but a top 5, we need to keep clipping those to get this championship.
You know, we talked a lot during the broadcast about this hand, and you can see the cast right there. We're going to let him take this off and actually show you the screw that is sticking out of his hand. That hurt?
Nah, I like to use it as an excuse, but I went ahead and got the pole my first time driving with it, so it doesn't hurt that bad. This knuckle here is fused, but my thumb works and my fingers work, so I'm not going to use it as an excuse, but I'd like to.
Actually, take a look at that. Keep on moving your hand. You can see the screw actually moving there. Ricky Johnson on the motorcycles to the stock cars. He's one tough customer.
I think he may have run his last motorcycle race. That happened. If we told you the story at the start of the season. That injury happened during the offseason last year. Ricky went back and ran kind of a Legends Supercross event in California against some riders who have won world championships. Ricky is a former world and national champion. Big wreck happened. He didn't suffer the worst of it by any means. Some riders were very seriously hurt in that pileup. Ricky suffered the hand injury, the brake. They fused it back together. That's the remnant of it now.
Yeah, and he said he re-injured it again at after Lakeland at Gainesville and then testing for the Baja 2000.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't care what he says. He's got hardware sticking out of his skin. That's got to hurt.
He's a sweet, gentle, kind man, but he is one tough customer. When they pick sides for the fight, I want him on my team.
I want
no
him on
doubt
mine
about
too,
it.
Rick.
Back in a moment from Hickory. Back live at Hickory Motor Speedway in Hickory, North Carolina. The Jani-King 300 for the American Speed Association complete this afternoon. For the second straight time, your winner, the guy in the middle there in the silver and white uniform, young Scott Wimmer. Rick Beebe finishes third on the right side of your picture, and to the left, the 98 Series champion finishing second today, the winner of the season opener and still the point leader, Gary St-Amant, as they do the hat dance in Victory Lane. A couple of weeks from now, we'll be going to Montgomery, Alabama, Montgomery Motor Speedway. 1:30 is the start time on Sunday afternoon, May 7th, Eastern and Pacific, for round 4 of the 2000 American Speed Association season. Young driver who had the pole here today, another driver with a ton to run for, the unsponsored Brandon Sperling. He's with Bob Dillner.
You know, for a guy who didn't think he was going to race in the first race, you are sure doing a good job with this team this year. Another top 10 finish. Not a bad day, even though you were up and down all day long.
Yeah, it really wasn't a bad day. Got to thank God for a safe race. We had a lot of close calls out there. Sometimes we were right in the middle of it. Sometimes we were a part of it. We just got out of sync a little bit on pit stops, and I think that might have hurt us at the end. But, you know, 6th place with all the fenders on, it's a good run here at Hickory.
Brandon doing a great job, but car owner Denny Crookston has a decision to make. Brandon told me before coming into this race that if you didn't get a top 5, you weren't going to Montgomery. Just outside the top 5. Are you going?
We'll wait and see if we get any phone calls and see how the finances hang loose. But, yeah, we're pretty happy, and we're pleased with a 6th place finish. You know, we like to tell everybody Happy Easter, and we'll probably see you at Montgomery.
Well, we'll be waiting to see the decision there. I also have Joey Clanton with me. And, Joey, your car caught on fire there on pit road, and you still come back with a great finish.
It was a little hairy situation. We lost all the track position we got. Every time we'd gain it, that kind of put us back, and team hung in there, and we worked our way back to the front.
What happened there on pit road?
Just spilled some gas and sparks, and it caught fire.
You had a great run going at Lanier. You got a good run here. How about thoughts going into Montgomery?
We went down and practiced last week, and the car we took was great. It's like we're going to have a good run down there. We just got to stay out of trouble, survive the race, and we'll run good.
Steve, what do you think? We have a great rookie class this year, don't we?
15 rookies in the field today, Bob, and a lot of them made very impressive runs.
Joey Clanton, one of those with a very, very strong run. You think things are rough on the racetrack? Well, check out TNN Sunday night. You'll see a ton of fury unleashed. And the rider experiences the toughest 8 seconds in sports. Championship bull riding from Albuquerque. Sunday night at 9 Eastern and Pacific right here on TNN Sports.
Looks like the action here at Hickory.
It does. Some guys got bucked off today. I think there's no doubt about it. Your point situation after 3 rounds of the 2000 championship season for the American Speed Association. Your leader remains Gary St-Amant, the winner of the opener. Finishes second here today. How about Brandon Sperling? Talked to him a moment ago, and his car owner saying They would probably go to Montgomery in a couple of weeks. I think when they see the point sheet at the end of this.
Yeah, hedged his bet, but I think you're right.
Kevin Sawinski with a strong run a couple of times this year. His third. Ricky Johnson coming on despite that horrible hand injury, his fourth. And how about Butch Miller? Haven't really seen all that Butch has yet this season, but fifth in points. Garvey, Miller, Scott Hansen tied for seventh with 433 markers. And how about Scott Wimmer? The 2 wins after failing to qualify for the season opener. He's tied for ninth with last year's champion, Tim Sauter. And Steve Burns, I think one of the great stories is you heard, 3 or 4 guys say, hey, he's the guy now. He's got us all covered. We've got to go do our homework.
Yeah, they're all chasing him, and it won't be long before we start hearing, hey, that 05 car maybe cheated up. But I think in reality, they're just working hard.
Told you at the beginning of the broadcast today that there was another driver here with a lot at stake this afternoon. We'll talk to Dave Sensiba when we return to Hickory Motor Speedway. Back live at Hickory, one of the drivers who was in contention much of the afternoon needed a good run today, comes home 17th. Let's talk to Dave Sensiba.
The key to this race, though, for Dave Sensiba was that he ran very well, Rick. He's here. Actually, we've got to watch the Scott Wimmer's car is being pulled behind Dave Sensiba. His son Colton here. Dave, up and down all day. You had Scott Deal, Tony Stewart's car chief there with you. Just an up and down day for you.
Yeah, it really was. We had a pretty good car, and we knew us. We wanted to pit early and stay out. Track position was everything, and I chose to pull in and pit again, and probably the wrong choice. But you know, we're out here trying to run the best we can, looking for a sponsor, and you know, hoping we can go to Montgomery.
Well, are you going to go to Montgomery? You said it was going to be a very, very close call. You didn't think you were going to be able to make it, the veteran of the ASA that you are.
Yeah, we're going to go home and evaluate things and see where we're sitting, and you know, see if we can put something together, maybe a one-race deal. And you know, we'd love to go. This is a great series, and with TNN on board, it's a great package for everybody.
Dave Sensiba and Brandon Sperling, those 2 guys plus Scott Wimmer would be good pickups for any company out there.
And there were several potential sponsors we know here today watching the situation and the action at Hickory to take a look at things and see what team they would like to cast their lot with. And we expect some things to happen for those teams in the next couple of weeks. We have a couple of weeks before we join you again with more American Speed Association action here live on TNN Sports. We'll be with you from Montgomery Motor Speedway in Alabama Sunday afternoon, the 7th of May, 1:30 Eastern and Pacific time. And we are looking forward to that trip, Steve Burns.
Another short track, huh, Rick?
Absolutely.
Oh, I love them.
Fast half-mile down there. I want to remind you, too, we'll be with you tomorrow on Easter Sunday, 11 o'clock Eastern and Pacific on race day. Hope you can join us from our Charlotte studios. We'll have all the coverage here from Hickory. Plenty of coverage as well from Las Vegas, where the Indy Racing Northern Lights Series is in action today, and the NASCAR Craftsman Trucks from Portland, plus all the news of the week. Join us tomorrow at 11 Eastern and Pacific. For Bob Dillner and Steve Burns, I'm Rick Benjamin. Thanks so much for being with us today from Hickory Motor Speedway and the Jani-King 300. Our congratulations to rookie Scott Wimmer, your winner for the 2nd consecutive week in the ASA. Wimmer will go for 3 in a row at Montgomery in 2 weeks. We hope to see you then. Thanks for being with us, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow on race day.